that I just come in there and look for knockouts, and that's not the case. I'm actually a sharp, smart fighter.
So, well, wait, I'm here. Who wanted to fight with me?
I really don't care who's in front of me. I don't feel like no fighter can beat me.
Demolish everybody, to be honest. Everybody that's in my way. The pinnacle to any weight division is to have all the belts, all of the titles.
Welcome to Body Work. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to Body Work Boxing. It feels so good to be back. How y'all doing out there, man? I know it's been a minute, but I'm back like I never left. And I believe that I'm going to go ahead and get back in stride. I think things are getting ready to be restored to order in the sport, and I have faith that it will. And I'm still kind of excited about it. You know, we've had some laws in boxing, but I've been watching. Trust me, I've been watching. I've been keeping tabs on everything, man. You know, like I always say, man, you kind of gotta have something kind of gotta be wrong with you in order for you to stay in love with the sport of boxing. It's just one of them things to where it's almost like an abusive relationship. And you know, boxing to abuse you, you abuse boxing. At the end of the day, neither one of y'all are going anywhere. So I'm glad to be back, man. It's a lot of things that's actually been going on. I hope that everybody out there is doing all right, or better than all right, progressing in some kind of way. And we all know that gaslighting, man, gaslighting is ever present. You know, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. To all my people that's in the 300, to all my members of the 300 who never give up on your boy, regardless. You already know this is not McDonald's, this is not 7-Eleven. This is like that bookstore in the neighborhood where you can go get particular items from. They're not found everywhere, but whenever you go to that bookstore, you know you get something, you grab something, you put something in your rucksack that you can tuck away and march on. Something unique, something peculiar, something awesome. You know, that's my goal. You know, I know this channel is not for everybody. It's not designed to be, especially the kind of truth that I be spilling and some of the things that I'm willing to say and do. We're not built for popularity. We're just built for the longevity of the sport. So, but no further ado, man, we got a little bit of housekeeping that we got to do. We got a little bit of Cookie Monster, Body Work, sounding great as always. I appreciate you, Cookie Monster. Thank you for that mic check. I appreciate that. You know, I'm a perfectionist of sorts, so I do appreciate that. But we're going to get into some housekeeping, right? And I'm gonna run down some things for y'all because it has been a minute. You know, the last time I came on was when I did the little video about Bud shocking the world, in which I spoke about my heart rooting for Bud, but my boxing mind telling me otherwise. And Bud did go on to shock the world to a certain extent. So let's go ahead and get into the housekeeping, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of what I'm going to be talking about today. And hopefully we'll cover some good ground because I got a lot of ground to cover. Housekeeping, right? First, Bud's legacy, right? Let's talk about that. Let's parking lot right there with Bud's legacy. Bud shocked the world, and he definitely is one of the best. He has definitely stamped himself as one of the best to ever lace up a pair of gloves, right? That's about as far as we can go with it. There are I've man, it's this. I was going to come right away, like right after it was over, because I've been telling y'all that Canelo, that he had a, I didn't say he had a cherry vineyard. I said he had a grape vineyard, but it would not age like fine wine. I've been saying that, and I've been playing the age well games. So I had Bud and I had Canelo in my age well games. It aged sort of well for Bud, you know, in a sense. It did kind of age well because in the history books, you're going to actually see, and people are going to be able to go up and look and see that he was 3 times undisputed, right? And people are actually going to do the research, and they're going to figure out who Canelo was, who both of these gentlemen were in the process. His twin, my fellow bodywork, salute. But what I found, man, and it's nothing new. I knew this was gonna happen, but I was gonna come on that direct week after last week, right after Bud won. I was gonna come on, but man, I had to let things subside because what I found was that his OnlyFans, man, they had what I call genitalia hysteria. They got genitalia hysteria, man. They are all over this man's genitalia, something crazy. In which, man, I'm like, I hope he's done having all the children that he's able to have, because I don't think he's gonna be able to fit himself inside of any woman of his choosing with his fans and the way they're hanging on to his genitalia, man. So they might be the best form of contraceptive when it goes by Bud, because I've heard some of the most outrageous things, and I think I told y'all in the build up when I actually did that one video about Bud getting ready to shock the world, about how some fans, they'll point fingers at other fan bases for being like Earl, when it came down to Errol Spence, like Errol Spence fans were called Errol-sexuals. Tank fans were called Tankomaniacs. And I told you that when it comes down to Terrence Bud Crawford, TBC, they idolize that man. They start talking about the pantheon, and it takes on a whole different form and shape, and it turns into idolatry. You got to let that stuff subside, you know what I'm saying? Because they are able to talk about that man in a manner in which no other fan can support their fighter. But they've always been like mainly the content creators. Like I noticed this when it come down to Bud, and I noticed this somewhat when it came down to Devin. Now it's different. I have a lot more respect for Bud than I do for Devin Haney and the Haneys. So don't get it misconstrued. I have a whole lot more respect for Terrence Bud Crawford than I do the Haneys. But I realize that they have something in common. Not only do they have the top 5, they're in my top 5 worst fan bases in the sport of boxing. Them two, ironically. Devin Haney's fan base being number 1 in the most toxic fan bases in boxing. I think Bud's fan base was like number 4, I think. Canelo's fan base was in there as well. But what I found out, and what I'm starting to realize, is just like when you speak about a fighter, like sometimes when I speak, like tonight, I'll be speaking about Devin Haney to a certain extent, right? And tonight, I'm speaking about Bud. What I found is that a lot of the times when it comes down to speaking on these guys as it relates to the sport, it's not necessarily those guys personally. And again, I separate Bud and Devin I think they on two different hemispheres as far as even with how Bud act and all that. Like I don't put, he's not a clown like I think like how I think about the Haneys. He's definitely not, right? But what I realized, the something that they have in common is that you will actually start to go through nooks and crannies and cover cracks and crevices on these guys and give them more scrutiny and be more critical of them because of their fans and the things that their fans say. So in layman's terms, let me tell you, it's not necessarily that it's these guys, it's their fans and how they act that'll make you say some things or uncover some things or address some things that you would not otherwise address had it not been for their fans. I can break it down a little bit further, right? A lot of their, like, let's just take a couple of their a couple of the content creators, right, that actually support these guys. Let's talk about Bud. Like, these guys are like some of the most hypocritical people on the Z Planet, especially Z Planet of YouTube, in which they are the prototypical do as I say, not as I do type people, where they can come out, right? They can come out and they'll complain about something that they actually do themselves, right? They come out, they try to use big words that they don't even know. They don't even know how to spell. They barely even know how to read some of these words that they use, but they come out and they do this undying support and they do this whole hindsight is 2020 thing, where in hindsight they're going to justify whatever it was that was going on in that time, and they're also going to rewrite history, right? So when they go rewrite history, right, and people check them, like you know how Charlie Murphy said, Rick was a habitual line stepper where he'll go over the line and then boop, we'll have to bring him right back. It's like that's how you have to do with these genitalia hysteria type fans of Terrence Bud Crawford, to where they are going to revise history. They've been revising history for the last month. And I'm like, guys, this stuff is not going to age well. Why? Because there are videos of Bud saying and doing certain things on camera that do not line up with the narrative that you all are facing. And when you do that, you take away from what he actually was able to do. He actually moved up 2 weight classes and put hands and feet on Canelo Alvarez. That's all people should be thinking about. But there are fans out here that will not allow you to actually look at it, give Bud his credit, and support him. Why? Because they're going overboard. And one of the things that they actually going overboard with is the comparisons with Floyd. Trying to say he's the best. Like, Bud will always go down as one of the best to ever lace up a player of glove. Period. But when you start trying to put him up there and trying to say he's better than, it's like, first of all, Floyd beat Canelo when he was in his prime. Let me repeat. Floyd beat Canelo when he was in his prime. Right? We're not gonna rehash some of the things that I actually spoke about, like when he was facing Caleb Plant and Caleb Plant was getting the best of him, but there was word on the street that the Mexican mob had told Caleb Plant that you are not going to win this fight. And all of a sudden, mysteriously, he get hit, he leans down, he stands up, he starts tumbling back over the ropes in a manner in which you've never seen Caleb Plant tumble before. Now, the guy with the crazy mullet was able to do that after that. But you, like, when you actually entangle with these fans of certain fighters and you have to reiterate certain facts, they actually have you going down rabbit holes that are not conducive to actually celebrating and supporting the guy and the achievements that they had. So I'm not going to harp on this for too long, but I will say, listen, man, let's salute Terrence Bud Crawford for being one of the best to ever lace him up. Let's look forward to him having a coming home parade. Let's look forward to him actually, if he's going to defend the titles, picking somebody, getting it on, at least defending one of them undisputeds. You know what I'm saying? And then riding off. If he wants to, ride off in the sunset or whatever. But let's just enjoy the celebration, Rob, because you can make an analogy. I'm not sure how you can sit up here and try to take a on Floyd after Bud does what he do to Canelo at this stage. Why? Because Bud is older than Canelo. Canelo was in a fight with Floyd when he was still active. Bud is older than Canelo. Name-wise and name recognition-wise and all that, Canelo is leaps and bounds. Like resume-wise, both of these guys are leaps and bounds over the names that Terrence was able to procure on his resume. You're actually picking a scab. It's almost like when you talk about Jada Pinkett. Who gets more credit? Who gets more credit for Jada Pinkett? A lot of people was giving Will a lot of credit when he bagged her, right? In the beginning. Do they give August Alsina that same credit? But what's so crazy is, much like Floyd and how he basically has Canelo's heart, Tupac always got Jada's heart. So who gets the most credit? It's like, stop it. You know what I'm saying? It's a different level. Like, yeah, Will got a whole lot more credit when he bagged Jada versus what August Alsina did in the state of mind that she was in the turmoil and all the wars and all of the mileage or whatever it was she was doing, all that time that then went by. Stop it. Let Bud enjoy his time to shine. Let him get his 15, 20, 30 minutes of fame. Let him, you know what I'm saying, have his feat of legacy and all of that. Salute, AC, body work, Hill and Honey, salute, salute. Allow this man to bask in his moment of glory. You know what I'm saying? But trying to say that he's better than Floyd by beating somebody that Floyd beat, over a decade ago? Like, stop it, man. Knock it off. Knock it off. Moving right along. Bomac. I came out and I asked this question. I've asked this question a long time ago before, like before I found myself indulging in what I would call these sausage parties, right? I didn't know they were sausage parties, right? I thought it was going to be like some shish kebabs, you know what I'm saying? I thought it was going to be crazy salad, crazy potato salad. I thought it was going to be other things other than quarter pounders and footlongs and beanie weenies and, half smokes. And I thought it was going to be more than that on the menu, like, because I don't partake in those things, right? But when I used to find myself at the cookout trying to look out, I asked this question. I said, was Bomac and his tutelage and all them, because I noticed that a lot of coaches, they come under a lot of scrutiny when they don't get the job done. Mainly like a Derrick James. You know what I'm saying? With having his hands in being able to give Jermell tutelage, being able to give Frank Martin tutelage, being able to give Errol Spence tutelage, being able to give Ryan tutelage, Alicia tutelage. Like when he had his hands and they was actually winning and doing their thing, right? They would knock and poke holes. But the minute one of them lose or one of them guys don't do exactly what Derrick James, they got full of scrutiny. So I would often question. I said, listen, man, is Bomac and the crew, the band, are they that special in their tutelage, or do they have a history of getting these special fighters like a Keyshawn, like a Bud, where you actually have access to is it so much that they have, is Bud just that special, or is it the tutelage? Because I noticed that Coach Calvin and Tank, they get the same thing. Well, they say that when Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny are both in there with Tank, Tank is unstoppable. I'm thinking that's much like how Bud is when he has Bomac and the squad around. But we notice when it comes to these other fighters, much like Coach Calvin, when Coach Calvin, Coach Kenny, like if it's a Lorenzo Truck Simpson, or even when it comes down to Coach Kenny's daughter, or it comes to some of these other, like the guy Demond Nicholson, right? When it comes to the shortcomings, I noticed that they would try to poke holes and take shots and chip away at the integrity of a Derrick James, the integrity of a Coach Calvin when they lose. But they acknowledge how special they are when they're at the nucleus with somebody like Tank Davis. I was posing the same question about Bo Mack and the crew when it came to Bud. Is Bud that special? Is Keyshawn that special? To where it looks like that because those guys have special qualities in them? Or is it their tutelage? And I came up, I whacked a hornet's nest. I had a whole squad of hot dog eating fans, like throat coat. Like I had a whole squad of people that love deep throating, gorging themselves on footlongs, half smokes, quarter pounders, beanie weenies, Franks, you name it. They deep throating, extra, no buns. Had them all in a frenzy. When I came out and I asked, I said, are they that special? Because when Avius Griffiths, when he came out and he got knocked out, when So Cold fell short, when Keyshawn crashed out, I said, how special are these guys? Is it Bud just that special, or they're used to getting these special talents, these Olympic level, these organic talented guys to where they look special, or is it anybody? Now, when we look at this Canelo card, Bo Mack and the squad, they went 1-1-1. I text my homie, I said, hey man, it's not looking too good. Steven So Cold Nelson came out and got stopped by a Cuban dude that I seen this dude fight one time, but nobody really knew that dude. Got stopped early. He came out there with that blank man outfit. I don't know what kind of the Bud's outfit. That was hard. I don't know what, if it was a blank man costume or what he was going for, that blank man suit or some Ninja Turtle shit. I don't know. He came out and got stopped. And they were trying to say, oh man, I don't like that stoppage. That was an early stoppage. I was like, man, the dude got hit 18 times unanswered. But I remember when I raised that question, because I noticed, once again, these Bud only fans and the people that support this squad, when you want to have reasonable, reputable conversations and critique them the same way you would a Gervonta Tank Davis, the same way you would a Devin Haney, the same way you would a Jerron Boots Ennis, the same way you would a Shakur Stevenson. When you want to have the same conversations, people get all sensitive. Panties be all in a bunch. So I said, are these guys that special? Are they overrated? I see Avius Griffin, he got a fight coming up. But Steven So Cold Nelson, he got stopped. Lester Martinez, he was able to actually fight to a draw. Even though I kind of had him winning that fight. I kind of had him winning that fight. I know my father-in-law, he's a big Billy fan. I kind of had Lester edging it slightly, but I knew they wasn't going with the momentum that Billy had, the fan base that he got up there in Canada. You know, the background that Lester has coming from where he came from. I see you. I got you right here. I got a little bit of I'm gonna hold you right here. But I got a little bit of housekeeping to do. But the background with Pro Box, I kind of knew that they was not, unless Lester was going to do something else, take just one edge. Even though I had him winning the fight, I had him winning in my books. You know what I'm saying? But I knew they wasn't going to like do that with Billy. Cool. I knew they was not going to give Lester, you know, they was not going to give him no play in GA. I knew that, right? So I was waiting for Bo Mack and the crew to tell Lester to do something to show that difference, to be able to convey that tutelage that he needed, that sensei, that Mr. Miyagi, to be able to get him over the hump, because there was something that I think Andre Ward was talking about it, right? And how and Billy come forward, and I always used to poke holes at Billy, even though I like the energy he brings. He's a rough, rugged customer, but I always say he come in throwing them power wings. He comes in leaning, he's always leaning over his front feet. He's winging shots, his head down. He like to lean on you. His technique not good. He's just adorable. He can take a licking and keep on ticking, but his whole thing is to overwhelm you and press you. But if Lester was to actually get a little space, use his timing, be able to use his feet, allowing Billy to use his momentum against him and catch him with an up, catch him coming in, force him to do something different. He had the more impactful shots, but I think Billy at times got off more often, right? But I was waiting for Bo Mack and them to actually give some kind of tutelage. But the card that they had where Bo Mack and them went 1-1 and 1 kind of answered all my questions. You know what I'm saying? And it's not to take away from them, but if you're going to be fair out here in these boxing streets and you're going to have this kind of dialogue on YouTube, and you're going to really talk boxing, and you're going to be as objective as you are when it comes down to a Gervonta Tank Davis or a Shakur Stevenson or a Devin Haney or a Boots or a Keyshawn or any one of these guys, when you have or a T.O., like any one of these guys, when you have so much to say and so much criticism or whatever, you got to be able to look at these guys and ask yourself a question. Are they that special, or is Bud just a special guy? Is Keyshawn just a special guy? Because y'all be asking, is Tank just that special? Because y'all have all kind of questions when it come to Coach Calvin and Coach Kenny. That's food for thought. And I already know that, just like Bud, the OnlyFans that he have, and some of the people that be so critical, these do as I say, not as I do, the most hypocritical people who will cry, who will get on there. You say something about them, they'll get on YouTube and they'll cry for days on end, talking the lamest shit. But when you get up on their shit, and they'll mute you when you got them dead to rights. And when you trying to get down with the nitty, they'll rush you, they'll mute you, but let you go somewhere and they get muted. They'll go back online and they'll talk about that shit for days on end. Let you say something down, like let you come with the same kind of criticism that they be criticizing everybody else. They'll be crying for days on end. Acting like they the toughest, like acting like they Bud, and they ain't. They went 1-1 and 1. And I was telling my man in the midst of it, I said, it's not looking so good. He had missed the So Cold part. I said, man, So Cold just got hit with 18. This was almost like some lubing shit, but it wasn't that late in the game. This was early in the game. He got hit 18 times. It was unanswered, and they tried to say that it was a premature stoppage. Lester Martinez came out there and he got a draw with Billy with all the momentum. That's commendable. It was up to Bud to come back and save the day, and they went 1-1 and 1. So that's food for thought. Tank versus Jake. The hypocrisy is on 1,000. The hypocrisy is on 1,000. Why? Because prior to the announcement of Tank versus Jake, prior to that announcement, everybody was shoving two different people down everybody's throat. They were shoving Turkey out of sheep down everybody's throat. As soon as you said, nah, I don't want no turkey, you turn your head, they were shoving Jake Paul down your throat, telling you how he was the best things, like, oh, he's great for boxing, he's this and he's that and he's blah blah this. Prior to that, when it was announced that Jake Paul had a fight, and I don't fuck with Jake Paul. I don't fuck with it. You haven't seen a video about me promoting this Tank versus Jake shit, so don't get it twisted. This is me doing my housekeeping. This is me putting that flashlight on all these people that say that they be unbiased and they be talking boxing and they be trying to keep it 1,000 and all this other stuff. This is me just, you know what I'm saying, bringing a mirror up to you and letting you see yourself. putting my finger up under your armpit and putting it up in your nose and say, all right, smell yourself. When it was announced that when Jake Paul came out and it was announced that Jake Paul and Canelo Alvarez had a fight, one of the biggest channels on YouTube and many others, and it's because it was Canelo. They were saying, oh, it's going to bring eyes on the sport. It's to get more eyes on the sport. But somehow, when Tank come out and he announced that this Tank, or Jake Paul come out and announced that this Tank versus Jake, somehow it didn't go from, it wasn't the same reception of, oh, it's more eyes on the sport. It automatically flip-flopped into, this is a black eye for the sport. The contradiction, the hypocrisy is on 1,000. So Tank versus Jake is a black eye for the sport. But Tank, when they call and they started slipping this junior face of boxing shit in there. It ain't no junior face of boxing. Everybody knew that Tank was the face of boxing, or he's considered to be the face of boxing, outside of Canelo Alvarez, who's supposed to be the ultimate, the big paper guy, the big money man. Even though in the U.S. Tank is the face of boxing in the U.S. Globally, it was, it's arguable that it was Canelo Alvarez. He was the face. So when Canelo had a fight on deck and Jake Paul revealed that it was paperwork, it was always good eyes for the sport. But when Tank announced that he got a fight with Jake, it's a black eye for the sport. This is just showing like how hypocritical that a lot of these people are. And I heard one of the dumbest things, like yesterday and today, I've heard some of the, from the same content creators, I've heard some of the dumbest things from both of them. I heard somebody say that you are not on code. You are not on code if you support this Tank versus Jake fight. You are not on code. I'm like, man, how much more hypocritical can you get? Now, I'm not with it. Now, I'm the one that's going to keep the same energy. I'm going to keep the same energy I always had. I always knew that it was a slippery slope letting Jake Paul and all this other stuff. They trying to say this man is ranked number 14 or 15 as a cruiserweight. And we're not even going to get into the whole shenanigans about all like Anderson Silva and Nate Diaz. And, I'm talking about not the little people. But the one dude with the keloid on his chest who he came out and knocked out right at the end of round one, like, come on, man. Come on now. We're not going to talk about that Mike Tyson stuff. We're not going to talk about all of the adversity these fights be having where he mysteriously come up and get all of these things and how they're trying to groom him as being the next guy. Like, come on, man. I respect him for getting in the gym and training and doing all that, but we're not gonna, we really not gonna go there. I just wanted to put a flashlight up to you all and show you that how hypocritical you are, because I remember a lot of people wanted Devin to fight him. I remember Andre Ward came out and he said he wanted to fight him. Antonio Tarver said he wanted to fight him. Sergio Mora said he wanted to fight him. But when Tank get it, it's oh no, this is a black eye for the sport. Knock it off, man. Knock it off. Y'all put too much material out here, and y'all have been shoving Jake Paul down everybody's throat. And it's crazy because I'm not even an advocate of it. You're not gonna see me promoting it because I already knew this was a slippery slope. Everybody cannot just pick up a pair of gloves, go in a couple training camps, and come out and be a world beater and start sparking people, whether they have a name or not. That is not, and I'm an optimist. But I already knew that this is where it was going to go. First, it was under the guise of what he was doing for women's boxing. He made another stride for women's boxing with what he's doing with Alicia Baumgardner and how they're going 12 rounds, 3-minute rounds at this point. That's another stride. The things that he did for Amanda Serrano, one of my favorite female boxers. The real deal. I called her the Punisher in my boxes to watch. I used to be high on Alicia Baumgardner prior to her popping, just like I used to be high on Conor Benn prior to him popping. But when I saw the double standard between how people treated Conor Benn versus how they treated Alicia Baumgardner after they popped and all that, I said, oh, I'm not going to be with it. I stopped playing that intro and everything that had Alicia in it. She used to be one of my favorite female boxers. So first it was under the guise of what Jake Paul was doing for the women's sport and women's boxing. I said, oh, that's a lovely, wonderful thing. And I also said that, hey, man, as a promoter, I can't knock what he's doing as far as promoting. As far as him being able to make these moves and pull these strings, I can't. But see, when it comes down to people advocating him or something, everybody would have been in line. If Andre Ward would have came back and Jake Paul would have announced that it was him and Andre Ward, everybody, their mother would have been with it. But we couldn't ask Andre Ward to come back and try to go get with an Alexander Usyk. No. We couldn't ask him to come back and try to get with a Jai Opetaia. No. We couldn't come back and ask him to get with anybody up in and around those weight classes. A Bivol or Viterbi, anybody up and around there, but it would have been okay for him to come back and get some Jake Paul. It'd have been okay for Sergio Mora to come back and get some Jake Paul. It'd have been okay for Antonio Tarver, and I like Antonio. Everything on, I'm not knocking Antonio Tarver, but I'm just saying y'all already know what I'm saying. It's hypocrisy. I'm not even gonna stay there too long because I don't want y'all to miss out on nothing. You know what I'm saying? I don't want y'all to miss or think that I'm overdoing it because I'm just speaking too much truth. Let's move right on along. Shakur's Jedi mind trickery. Shakur Stevenson's Jedi mind trickery needs to be studied. It really needs to be studied. Now, what I can say is that his ability to self-promote or to get people in his Jedi mind trickery type way to actually talk about him like he's already accomplished many of the things that Terrence Bud Crawford has, or anything close to what Floyd did, or even the path and the way in which he's moving being comparable to what these guys were able to do. His ability to be able to get you all to assimilate his name and his achievements up there with these guys who have all those notches on his belt is amazing. It is amazing. Like, and I was one of the, I used to, man, against the Haney tribe and like all of them, like I used to defend Shakur Stevenson tooth and nail. Like, and when they was coming at him, just hating on a young rebel for no reason and just being biased and all, I used to defend Shakur Stevenson like no other because I always said, man, I was a Shakur Stevenson fan. It's just that when it came down to him actually fighting Tank, I had Tank. That's it. That was the only thing. But see, Shakur, he's one of them where if you over there, stay over there type. And I started seeing that more and more. But his ability to get you all to assimilate him with what the moves that Floyd have done, the moves that Bud has done, the moves that any of these other guys like Pernell and all of these other guys, Keyshawn was on that same path, getting you all to assimilate these names with what some of these other guys have been doing. They have not done anything. They are just farts in the wind compared to what these dudes like. To talk about Shakur and have him in the same sentence as Bud right now, or to have him in the same sentence as Floyd right now, y'all need to knock it off, man. Y'all need to knock it off, and y'all gotta actually start seeing now. Now, this is one of the things I'm gonna point out to y'all. He's actually following Bud's blueprint to a certain extent. Only the styles don't match. Bud is a finisher. He's a closer. I think Bud plays chess a little bit better, even though the level of chess that Shakur Stevenson is playing right now, that needs to be studied. That needs to be studied. But he's actually pulling a move, the same move to where, you remember when Bud came out and said, no, it's weight class for a reason. And no, he fights at 168. I'm not going to go up there and do that. I'm not going to. And then something happened where they starting to give credit to Bill. Bill's starting to get all this credit for being the one. Even Bud himself, to my amazement, acknowledges that Bill told him, like, nah, man, you can beat the dude. Look at him, man. Look how he is. So he said he did what? He sized him up. He said he sized Canelo up and he realized he's not that big. Like, oh, we just talking about weight. Skills pay the bills. What did Shakur Stevenson say it's been a minute ago. What did Shakur Stevenson say a minute ago as we move right along and we start talking about this Jedi mind fuckery that Shakur Stevenson is doing? He looked at Teofimo Lopez and he sized him up. He said in the interview, he's like, well, man, he fight at 140. Right now, I'm a 135 pounder. You know, I have no problem making weight. But he said, no, actuality, he said, I'm actually bigger than T.O. He said this a long time ago. And remember when they actually talked about something and the T.O. said, hey, man, like, I felt like, hey, they was doing something. This, I don't know, it was one of them times where they met up, because I think they both was at Top Rank at that time. And what did he say? Shakur said he sized him up. And we all know that boxers, whenever you talk to a boxer, boxers will let you know that they will size you up. They'll do little, it might not be no Anna. You know what I'm saying? It might not be no Anna there. It might not be nothing in between y'all. Might not be nothing. But if there's any inkling that at some point in time it's gonna go, it's just like anybody who grew up fighting. You grew up fighting, you go in the store, you see a dude, you looking around, you checking your surroundings, you gonna size him up and be like, all right, okay, he looked like, all right, okay, judging based on this. You know, you can't judge a book by a cover. You gonna size somebody up and see, like, if I'm in the store and I'm looking around and I can see you, I'm like, yeah, okay, all right, he look, you know what I'm saying? He look like he, you know, he a little big, you know what I'm saying? I might have to go for the throat, you know, or he's a little too small, he might be a little too light in the ass, you know what I'm saying? We do that as men. Combative, competitive men with testosterone. We do that. Shakur had already been said he sized T.O. up. This is no different than what Bud seen with Canelo, where he seen him and he sized him up to where he already know he's bigger than him. He know he's bigger than T.O. So he got everybody talking about, and they got everybody talking about a Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson. Now, you know, am I mad that it may happen? No. But I'm one of them guys that, unfortunately, I keep the same energy. Why? Because I'm never going to let this go until the door slams and it's closed. I'm never going to let this go. You stop me when I'm lying. When has it never, ever not been about this with me on this channel? Once we learned that the chapter between Devin Haney and Tank was over, like that fight was not gonna happen, like it was over, like it was not gonna happen, it became the Cold War. It had always been between Shakur Stevenson and Tank Davis. That's the fight. I was calling it the Cold War for so long, so I'm never going to get over this until that door is closed for good. I don't care if Tank go fight a Roach. I don't care if Shakur go fight a T.O. As long as I'm following the sport and this fight can be made, this is the fight. This was the next fight for Tank that everybody wanted. It wasn't no Jake. It wasn't no T.O. and no Shakur. It wasn't no Shakur and no Conor Ben. It was never nothing. It was never nothing no more. Like my man from New York said, it was never not nothing no more. Never. It's always been the Cold War. That's what it's been. And I said, don't let them do this. Don't let them do the divide and conquer. Because that's what they tend to do. But I'm gonna tell y'all, look, y'all gotta peep this. See, it was a lot of smoke at 54 for Bud, right? Like, it was a lot of smoke. Madrimov was just the tip of the iceberg. But we still had Jermell Charlo, which was history after the Earl thing between Jermell Charlo and Bud. That was smoke at 54. Right? We knew Boots was eventually going to come up. We didn't know Boots was just going to pop up and surprise. I'm at 54 now. We didn't know that was happening, but it was still a lot of smoke to be had. A lot of people was attaching themselves or lining up some fights because Bud himself interjected himself into the front door and Spence negotiations or whatever. He stepped in and interceded and was like, nah, what's going on? Holler at me. You know what I'm saying? They said, okay. So it was public record. It was an article came out that he was going to allow that fight to go on as long as he had got dibs next. That's public record. It's videos out here, it's articles. I even did a video on it. So it was smoke for Bud at 54 before Bill pulled his coattail and told him to go get with the Canelo. Stick with me. I'm going somewhere. When it comes down to Shakur, there's a guy named Oshaki Foster. There's a guy named Oshaki Foster that was on Shakur's heels. There was history. Shakur came out and did something real lame, talking about the blunt and talking about all kind of like basically dry snitch, like a fat rat on Oshaki about some smoking, and Oshaki was like, man, I don't appreciate that. You act like he said I handed the blunt to you. Since you want to be so messy, he's like, okay. So they had Ray Savage Ford on. He was basically, because now I can't knock Ray Savage and Shakur being thick as thieves. Why? New Jersey. I used to like Ray Savage too on the come up. So I can't knock two New Jerseyans sticking together. Okay, cool. But it was a play to where it was almost like they were trying to force Ray Savage onto Oshaki, and Oshaki was looking at Ray for like, hold on, Ray, I'm fighting top 5 guys. Like I'm up here. I'm one of them ones. Like my name ring bells. Like I've been doing this, and I ain't been I ain't been in the lower tier. I ain't been bouncing around playing hopscotch. I ain't, I've been fighting at upper echelon. I've been fighting the top 5. I want your mans. Like why bump little bro? I'm going for the man. And when I do what I'm getting ready to do right now, and I move up, it's gonna be nothing that big bro can do. I want to see big bro move around little bro. So it was like Shakur and Savage had this plan to where Ray Savage was running interference on Oshaki, and Oshaki was like, no, I want big bro. Don't it seem kind of odd that all of a sudden Shakur is just rushing up out of 140? First it was kind of been at 47. Then now it's T.O. at 140. Then he said he's going to drop that belt and let Keyshawn go for it. Math ain't mathing, man. And I was tired of those same like foot long eating, half smoked, quarter pounder, slobbing, no buns. They had the cookout, just grab a handful of hot dogs, extra mayo. Those same ones, you can't get them to be as accountable as they want us Tank fans to be when it comes down to be accountable for Tank, to be accountable for Shakur as a Shakur only fan. They can't get you to be, but it's all like that it's Swiss cheese holes all in that game that Shakur is running. That's why I say the Jedi mind trickery, it needs to be studied. But he's getting out of the way because Oshaki, if he's able to get past Stephen Fulton, which I say that what Oshaki and Stephen Fulton got going on is some legacy stuff. That's where the sport needs to be. Legacy. Oshaki, he's doing legacy things. He's not talking about all of the money and all that. That stuff's going to come. And I'm not going to knock nobody for going to go get no bag. But what Oshaki and Stephen Fulton is doing, that's legacy stuff. That's legacy. Now, I just want to put something on your mind. But it's kind of odd that all of a sudden Shakur he got this motivation to go up and see, and why? Because one, he shared the ring with T.O. He sized T.O. up, and then also he knows that he can duplicate some of the things that Jermaine Ortiz, light-skinned Jermaine, was able to do with a Teofimo Lopez. It's going to be up to Teofimo Lopez. If he respects Shakur in a manner in which he feels like Shakur is really that great, if he has a whole lot of respect for him, it's possible that Teofimo Lopez can turn up. But I believe, being the chess player that he is, Shakur believes that since he's seen him, he sparred with him, he knows what he's going to do, he's been studying, he plays chess, he sized him up, he knows that he's like bigger than him, naturally bigger and all that, he's going to be able to, you know what I'm saying? He already knows how he's going to fight him. It's going to be a shut him down, close out, Teflon Don, you know what I'm saying? No risk, no risk, whatever reward is on the table for that fight. But he's moving out of the way of somebody that's probably going to be more of his speed, somebody that got some added motivation to kind of get with him in the Oshaki because of all the stuff. I find it real strange that all of a sudden he got all this extra gas, all this extra fuel, all this extra motivation to move his ass up to 140 all of a sudden, and Oshaki is on that ass. That's just me. That's just me. Now, I'm not a Shakur only fan. I was a fan. I used to support him. I used to defend him. I used to do mad videos about him. He's in my boxes to watch. He's the definition in my boxes to watch. but I peep game. Teofimo Lopez. He was the Puma in my box to watch. Used to be a big fan. Got tired of all the shenanigans, all the race baiting, all of the racial slurs, all of the things that he was saying. Same thing, just like when Keyshawn got out of pocket. Started saying all these things that I just couldn't get with. Just talking. Colorism, light skin versus dark skin stuff. Just causing all these schisms. Couldn't get with it. But I wanted to put that on your mind as it relates to Shakur and this Jedi mind trickery that he's doing that needs to be studied. He's keeping himself relevant. He's keeping himself in the media. And he's allowing you all these times to get you to assimilate his name with a Bud. His name with a Floyd. Now, with Floyd, silver medalist, okay? But that's about where it stops. That's about where it stops. Now, down at those lower weight classes, down at 130, Shakur was putting hands and feet on shit. He was stopping shit. He was letting his hands go. But that's when he knew. Because think about it. If you already know you bigger than T.O., T.O. started at 135. He at 140. He was about to go up to 147 to go see Boots. If you know you bigger than him, you should be stopping and putting hands and feet on people down at 130. It's the same shit Devin was doing down at 135. And I'm gonna bring this full circle. I just wanted to touch bases on that. So, but O'Shaquie Foster and Stephen Fortune, they're doing some legacy type things. That's a good fight, man. I'm kind of leaning towards O'Shaquie, but I do not count Stephen Fortune. I have a lot of respect. I'm glad that Stephen Fortune got himself up out of that little phase that he was in after having the hangover after the Inoue fight, when his people was telling him that Inoue was a hype job. Told y'all I lost friends over there saying, nah, he ain't no hype job. Nah, Inoue gonna stop this, man. I need to stop saying that. When Greg Hackett, the guy who's supposed to know all this shit about boxing, was telling him and everything, he's a hype job and all this, and had Stephen Fortune going over there thinking that Inoue was a hype job, and I was saying, no, he ain't. You know what I'm saying? These guys that, because they're affiliated with boxers, they be in gyms because they put on gloves, like they know every goddamn thing about boxing, even though they don't. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad Cool Boy was able to get out of that funk. I love the way he fought Figueroa in that last fight, and I look forward to that. Now, that's a legacy fight. Now, moving on. Gary Antoine. It was announced that Gary Antoine is going to defend his strap against Andy Hirioka, Hirioka is the guy who was able to stop Jin. He was the first one to actually stop Jin. He's a tall Asian cat. And I think that that's a good legacy fight for Gary Antoine, who was, for him and Sabril, was known as being the boogeyman of 140, which I think that the party, they're all going to be up at welterweight pretty soon. So I think that that's a good look for him legacy-wise, for Gary Antoine to get a defense up against a guy named Andy Hirioka. A lot of people don't know about him. Go do your research and look him up. That's legacy things, Richardson Hitchens. I was looking for Richardson Hitchens to rebound or bounce back. He's still talking about this Teofimo. Teofimo look like he's, I seen him on the jet talking about this Shakur Stevenson. It looked like that's going down. Richardson Hitchens, he's one of my guys. I was one of them guys that was holding it down I've been holding it down for Richardson Hitchens for so long because his skills can't be denied. I was the one saying it's crazy what happened between him and Tank and how they let media and Shakur and relationship, they let all this bullshit get between them when they was both hanging out with Adrian Broner, when Adrian Broner had both of them under their wing. I was like, it's crazy for y'all to let the industry get between y'all and all this, but I try to keep it boxing. I see where Tank coming from. I see where Richardson Hitchens coming from. I like them both. It's because they got some shit going on, and at one point in time, Hitchens and Stevenson had some shit going on. They ain't got nothing to do with me as a pure boxing fan. I don't know what the fuck is going on with Richardson Hitchens. I heard that he was trying to get Lamont Roach to come up, and it would be a cool look, but it's like, no, bro. No. I don't know what guidance. I don't know, man. I think it's kind of messed up what Turkey Al-Sheikh did with Richardson Hitchens. Basically, when he basically told him, like, hey, Darky, if you ain't over there with Eddie and them, then I'm not financing nothing. Even though it was supposed to be him and T.O. over in Alcatraz. Don't act like Don't try to Mandela affect me. Don't act like it wasn't articles and news reports and all that. Don't try to Mandela affect me and try to say that that wasn't something that was really supposed to be going on with Richardson Hitchens and Teofimo Lopez fighting in Alcatraz. Don't try to do that because Turkey was supposed to be financing it. It was supposed to be Teofimo Lopez after he fought Barbosa. It was supposed to be Teofimo Lopez and Richardson Hitchens and then Boots. That Devin Haney stuff, that shit, that was like secondary at that point in time. So don't try to Mandela affect me. But I think it was wrong for Turkey Al-Sheikh to basically publicly castrate Richardson Hitchens by doing that move, by saying, oh no, I'm only going to finance him as if he with Eddie. And after that, the momentum that Hitchens had after stopping Kambosos with that body work, he lost all his momentum. And now he's been reaching for straws and grasping for air. And I seen him at that Kurt Scooby fight, that ugly ass fight Kurt Scooby had. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I seen him at that fight, still talking about Teofimo. Gary Antoine has said, nah, man, I beat you all these times in the amateurs, even though I didn't like that shit. Like, I ain't like that. My man Gary Antoine, I didn't like that he spoke out right after Richardson Hitchens had won and all that. I'm like, that's crazy. Like, he got momentum. You had been quiet. Nobody knew what was going on with Gary at that time. Since then, he had came on and done interviews. So now he got fresh fish on the line, and Andy Hirioka, and Richardson Hitchens out here reaching for straws. Yeah, damn. So I don't know what's going on with Hitchens, man. We hear that Lamont Roach want to get it on with Pitbull. You know what I'm saying? Battle of the leftovers, which I don't know. I would have definitely, if I was Lamont Roach, I definitely would have hopped on that Mr. Gary Russell Jr. smoke. I definitely would have done that. Like, I don't know why. I don't know. I definitely would have hopped on that, especially since Gary, you get Mr. Gary Russell, one of the longest reigning, 6 years, 352 days champion. You get somebody like that on your resume, you try to tell me that's not legacy? You go in there and you put hands and feet on Mr. Gary Russell, which I don't really think you can, even though it'll be a DMV battle. You already know I'm with it. I got love for them all. Moving on along. Schofield is supposed to be fighting JoJo Diaz. Look like he on that Devin Haney blueprint, that Jurassic Park blueprint, where he love them cougars, man. He done wet his palate. He done wet his palate with a Tevin Farmer, so now I guess he gonna try to go put old JoJo Diaz out of his misery now. While Abdullah Mason is getting ready to fight for Keyshawn Davis's crash out strap. So, I mean, Mason, he's going for legacy. I guess Schofield gonna try to build up his cachet, and I don't know if he's still waiting in the line, thinking that, I guess when Tank get done with the Jake Paul or whatever he gonna do, if he don't hang it up, or if he retire, he gonna inherit the strap or whatever. But I guess he gonna go on the senior citizen plan like Devin and try to make his name off of fighting all of these cougars. Abdullah Mason is going for that legacy. He's going for that strap. And mind you, young Skull, even though it was very impressive what he was able to do against Tevin Farmer, young Skull did turn down that Abdullah Mason smoke with $1 million price tag on it. Just to let you know. So Abdullah Mason, he got to fight for a Keyshawn strap. So that's coming up. And that is the housekeeping. That is the housekeeping, man. I'm glad I got through that, but I had to because it's been so long since I've actually been up here and I actually done a segment, but I had to get through the housekeeping portion so I can get to the meat and potato. This is the meat and potatoes, y'all. I was thinking that man, listen, man, if Bud would have been able to stop Canelo, right? He would have I think he would have had more command of people saying you the face of boxing. I think as far as like legacy wise and achievement wise, he might have set the bar down for being like the same way Clarissa has on the female side. He may have set the bar as far as boxing stuff. Like when you talk about accomplishments and accolades, and like when you go back in the history books, what to look for, and what boxes to check to say, okay, this displays your level of greatness. Yeah, he might have set the bar that way, but anything short of not stopping Canelo, I didn't think that he was going to be able to stake claim to being the face of boxing. I think that he might be the face of doing some legacy stuff right now at this moment in time, but the age and the fact that you can't just make him go around. He's not a spring chicken, and you can't make him go around campaigning like a face of boxing, like the way that David Benavidez would be if he was able to get a strap. The way he's going to campaign, and for years to come, he's going to be taking on all comers. It's like, okay, rush them. Who got next? Who want to see me now? I think David is going to have that kind of mentality when he finally gets anointed in that spot. So what I was trying to do was get back with Tank going to go do whatever because he's the face of boxing right now. But with him going to go do the novelty boxing act with Jake Paul, I went back in the lab and I started saying, okay, well, who probably has the best claim or the biggest momentum towards getting a strap? I mean, not getting a strap, but getting awareness or becoming the person that they would label as the face of boxing. And I said, hold on, man. I think before the Circus Act was announced, before we got so close to the Canelo thing and boxing was moving, and before Top Rank and their deal was up and we got into this little lull point in boxing, right? I was already on to something. I was already on to this young man named Brian Norman Jr. I was already saying that it was global warming. After he went over there, he got a shot of gin. I was already saying that, was he boxing's most dangerous man? I was already saying, like, well, what if he moved the way that Boots was moving? Like, I was already saying when Boots moved up, the division is yours. You are in the glamour division. I was already saying that this was going to be Fahrenheit 147 before Boots decided that he was just going to up and move up and announce himself at 154. About a month after him and Eddie pulling that move that they pulled, slandering Brian Norman Jr. So I had to spin the block, and I said, you know what? If it was a fifth, we all be drunk. I know. But if Brian Norman Jr. were to knock out Devin Haney, I think that he will definitely have a strong claim on being the face of boxing. And I got 10 reasons why. But I'm going to let AC, I know you've been patient. What's up, AC? Jay Gibson.
Yo, that was my bad. But basically, I was talking to myself, not knowing I was on mute. I'm just gonna run through this. Hold
on. Salute Jay Gibson. Salute the Bodywork Boston and the fam. Salute Jay. But go ahead, AC.
But basically, I wanted to run through some of the points that you was talking about earlier, and then land my plane with your last point of being the face of boxing for Schofield. For Brian Norman. Lester Martinez, I did have winning the fight. His tool and what he did to me was expose Billy, because Billy's a sucker for an uppercut. An uppercut and a check hook, you'll stop Billy. I just think that he couldn't sustain the space that he was trying to create, so he can land that uppercut and stuff like that. And I'm not 100% sure um, he was 100% dedicated to what his corner was saying, because sometimes it seemed like they're telling you one thing, but you're not enacting that. Maybe that's because Billy feet was a little bit better than what we see and what we think as far as his ability to close that distance and be on you. And
Was
plus,
that-
they had no answer for Billy being able to steal those rounds, steal the last minute to 30 seconds of every round.
But let me ask you this: do you think it was a language? You think it was a language barrier?
It could be. That would be a plausible argument for me. You feel what I'm saying?
Between the coach and him, because he's forgot where he's from. He's from
I think he's Argentinian or some shit like that. Is he? No.
not Argentina. He's from He's from South America. He's one of them.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Don't let me interrupt.
But basically,
I was wondering.
basically, the next point I wanted to say was, I don't know if they had a real answer for the fact of Billy stealing that last minute to 30 seconds of every round. It's hard to defend that. You feel what I'm saying? Because you're leaving the last impression. And although I felt the uppercuts were doing damage, they weren't the winging crowd, getting hyped type.
You cut out. You cut out, AC. Yo. You cut out, my bro. That's a good point. And Billy was still in the last. He was still in rounds. He was, and it was more to me. I think with the cachet, him having all that Canadian fan base and the hype that he got around him.
Yeah, it was like, bro, he never got caught. He was never hurt. He was never in danger. It was never, he caught him. He caught him again. It wasn't nothing like that. So the scorecards gave us one thing, but we saw the fight. And that's one thing where one of the times that I really don't like to debate the scorecards too often, but this is one of those clear-cut examples. So just stop mentioning Shakur's name in the same sentence of Bud, because in my opinion, the way Shakur moves, he will never, ever, ever accomplish what Bud has accomplished. At 26 and at 30, really more of 26. Only two fighters I felt could beat Tank. One was Gary Russell, Mr. Gary Russell. The other one, I was like, I think maybe this young nigga Shakur could probably get him, because he got a little viciousness in him with some hell of a boxing skills that I think might give Tank some trouble. And this is just to remind people, we're still talking about the undisciplined Tank. The disciplined Tank, not even close. You feel what I'm saying? But at 26, if anybody was going to beat Tank, I felt it would have been either Gary Russell or Shakur Stevenson. You know what I'm saying? They had thrown in Tevin Farmer, but it was just I don't know. You feel what I'm saying? But moving to Bud intentions at 50. At 54, we have to kind of go back just a little bit more and say, listen, the original intent was, Bud, you were supposed to go up to 54 and face Mel. That was the fight to be made at 54. That's still a fight that everybody's like, listen, to fight anybody else at 54 without fighting Mel is like, bro, that makes no sense, because he is the Ring Magazine, aka champion. He is the man who did it, and he's the only one who like really did it from the mud, win, losses, and draws. He became undisputed and didn't lose not one of those belts by getting beat. You feel what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, that was the fight that was originally supposed to be made. Bud pulled out of that fight claiming, I don't like your performance against Canelo, so I don't want to fight you. Okay, but what about Avanesian? What major performance did Avanesian have before you fought him?
Mm-hmm.
What? Let's even talk about. Let's pull up a good solid name, Amir Khan. Like, bro, Kale Brook. You feel me? So Kale Brook is coming off of back-to-back losses, and you fought him. So to fight Mel and talk about his performance, I didn't like that excuse, and that's just given the context of what was his original intent, and then it was a whole bunch of other stuff, right? As far as other fights that you was talking about with Shakur at 140, the whole friendship thing or whatever. I've always felt if you're gonna go up there, let's get some work with Hitchens. Strategic fight. Both of you guys are good boxers. You're not fighting either one of these guys and thinking that you're gonna beat them at boxing. There's three young fighters I feel that way about: Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, and Hitchens. They're known for boxing. I don't think if anybody goes into a fight trying to outbox them, you're gonna beat them. You feel what I'm saying? Tank is also a great boxer, but he'll put that aside for the stoppage because he has that hunger in him to say, I get paid the same to go 1 round as I do 12 rounds. So why not get you the fuck up out of here somewhere between 1 and 12? You feel what I'm saying? That's what I have to say about that. As far as him not wanting to fight Hitchens, and then Matias, him beefing with Matias, and then Matias telling him let's fight, and then he's always saying, well, I'm a 35-pounder. Then he's on an interview saying, if the fights make sense, I would, do this and that with Matias. And then the guy said, so would you fight Matias? No, I would spar him. I wouldn't fight him. But you also said in that same interview, you don't like to fight guys you've already sparred, but yet that is your track record over the majority of guys you fought. You've actually sparred them. So like you was talking about sizing them up, you've already done that. You sparred them. Mm-hmm. You won't do it with Matias because you've never sparred Matias. So you don't know how to prepare for him. And that's my issue about that. Now, let's get to where we are with this Devin Haney and what's the name? My biggest issue for Brian Norman, to whereas he may have some issue with claiming the face of boxing. To the diehard fans, we're gonna kind of look at him that way, but there's still one individual that's gonna be in your way, even though this individual is partaking in something that for the business of boxing and saying you're the face of boxing, sometimes you got to do some dirty deeds and the company will ask you to pay up, just like the old pimps used to have in their car, grass, cash, or ass, nobody. So when you take the face of boxing role, there's always going to be that percentage of the fan base that's going to complain about everything you do because they're going to be like, oh, he lost his hunger, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. You feel what I'm saying? They complain about the moves Tank makes. You feel what I'm saying? But they don't want to recognize that in between the Lamont Roach fight, or even before the Lamont Roach fight, and this Jake Paul fight, he did try to fight two of what was called the Three Kings. That was Lomachenko, who decided to walk away from that fight, and that was Shakur Stevenson, who decided to walk away from that fight. Anyone who disagrees with me, there's a video you can just go to YouTube and put it in the search bar. It'll say Shakur Steven breaks his silence or opens up on the Gervonta Davis talks. And he tells you everything that was going on. So none of these goofy ass fans could tell you he never tried to Tank never reached out to him. He never Tank never tried to make a fight with him, because he's telling you specific dates that they were looking to make the fight with. And that was especially one of the dates with the original Lomachenko date, that which was in November. And we were talking something like August when this interview happened. So,
Aaron Jones, salute Aaron Jones, one of my day ones, bro. Long time no see. Good to see you, bro.
yeah,
But
definitely.
we were talking about it. Yep.
Yeah, so basically, that those are those situations. Now, Tank fight, in my opinion, Jake Paul. When you look at the demographic of Canelo, you feel what I'm saying. We basically in this era had three faces of boxing, who, to the casuals and some of the diehards, fit the bill. One was Tank Davis, the other one was Errol Spence, the final one was Canelo Alvarez. You feel what I'm saying? Two of those guys just lost to one guy. Not just, but one guy just beat two of them. Two of the faces of boxing, inheriting his status of that, whether it's widely accepted or not. You feel what I'm saying? That's just the general consensus, whether you accept it or not, or you're on the fence about it. But that's, in my opinion, that's just like one of the realities. The last one standing is Tank. You feel what I'm saying? With Tank being that last guy, you had Jake Paul trying to make the fight with one of them, which was Canelo Alvarez. He loses that fight. He tried to go after AJ, which was never going to happen. Now you're looking at Tank Davis. If you want to inherit this face of boxing, knowing that Canelo just got beat, we're unsure what's going on with Errol Spence. Jamel Charlo could have been that guy, but he's not really marketable like that, and plus he's been on this weird-ass hiatus that's unexplained. The only person that's active and fits the bill with putting asses in seats and shit like that is Tank. Now that he's getting ready to fight Jake Paul, and I think they're going to do somewhere close to, or maybe $1 million more than the Bud, 10 million more than the Bud versus Canelo fight. I think this fight may do somewhere between 50 and 60 million streams globally. I don't know what the US numbers are going to look at, but I think globally between 50, 60 million. You know what I'm saying? It may even do 70. And that will let you know, okay, Terrence Crawford, we appreciate what you did. But between Jake Paul and Tank Davis, who was a 135 pounder, they still did better numbers than you. At the time your fight happened versus the time that their fight happened, they will do better numbers than Terrence Crawford.
Oh, now AC, man, I thought you was a Bud buddy, bro. Like, man,
I'm just being real about it, because
son.
Because Terrence Crawford wasn't that dude. He was not that dude.
Son.
You just got your plate off of the Errol Spence win, and then you was iffy and wishy-washy about accepting it, because you started talking negative about it, which then took some people back, and then everybody's like, oh, all right, we'll give it back to you now. You just got back the points that you lost because you took away the Errol Spence shit, so now you're basically broke even, and you're getting maybe a 5 to 10% push off of how you beat Canelo, and the mere fact that you went up in those two weight classes and you beat Canelo. But when it comes down to Tank Davis, eyes and asses in seats, eyes on the screen, pay-per-view numbers, he's a legitimate pay-per-view star. Terrence Crawford, you were never a legitimate pay-per-view star. That's why the majority of your career, your fights were not pay-per-view. Your biggest fight you've had in your entire career, the biggest fight you had was not pay-per-view. If you already had Netflix, which I really don't know who doesn't, it is what it is. You did 41 million. You did 41 million. Impressive numbers. I knew it was going to be around that number. I knew you were going to be, you weren't going to do Jake Paul you weren't going to do Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson numbers. Not at all. Not at all. So at the end of the day, for Brian Norman, your biggest problem right now is the aftermath of Tank versus Jake Paul. We got to see what those numbers look like. Yes, you will have your place. You will have your time. And if you stay doing it from the mud, you'll be what's known as the people's champ, the people's face of boxing. We've got the company face of boxing, which is Tank, because he puts the asses in seats. You know, he does try to go after the big fights. He does he goes after the big fights when it's relevant and it's time, but these guys don't want to see him. It's proven. So he's gonna do what he's gonna do. You know, my only caveat is after the Jake Paul fight, we just got to see what his next move is going to be. Will it be a Lamont Roach rematch, or will he try to spin the block and get Shakur back in conversations to make something happen? Because between those two guys, that'll be the second biggest fight in boxing or in this era. So,
see, I'm thinking about and I'm gonna answer your question. I'm gonna answer your question in a second, Aaron Jones. Hold on one second. All right, so this is my thing. I'm looking at it like I'm looking at it because remember on my channel I say stuff and people be saying, "Oh nah, man, nah, son," and then 3 months later, when they say it, then that's what it is. Like
vindicated villains. Villains.
So right now, everybody is saying that Tank is out. Like he's not invested. You know, this is a black eye for the sport. Wow. Even though Jake Paul versus Canelo would have brought eyes on the sport, that's how they was selling it. But now that it's Tank, it's a black eye on the sport. Now that it's Tank, so they saying my man is like he on his way out the door. Like they pretty much saying he gonna grab this bread and then he gonna go chill out. Like because it's looking like those fights that we want to see him in. I'm riding with the notion. I'm not saying that this is what it is. I'm just saying, okay, worst case scenario, because he's already doing some novelty boxing stuff, right? So I'm not with it, but I'm not gonna knock it because hey, get your bread. They don't want to fight you. Go get your bread, young man. That's what I'm on. But I'm not gonna promote it. So I'm saying, okay, we know Tank ain't going nowhere unless Tank is out the door. So I should have said this in the beginning. This is predicated on the fact that Tank is out the door.
I don't subscribe to that though, buddy. I'm different. I'm thinking he's doing it to really, really big up the Lamont Roach second fight and to fuck with Shakur Stevenson, because if you do it right now, the way things are in boxing, without this type of thing, there's really not a lot of money, not as much money as certain standards are being set by Turkey and what Amazon is going to want to see and what Netflix is going to see. You got to do this type of shit now so you can make the Lamont Roach and what's the name joint make sense, because all I'm asking for you is I don't give a fuck about pay-per-view. I'm talking about views. If you can't bring me more than 30 million views, I'm not putting that shit on. And I think that's the bottom line.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I hope. See me, I'm hoping that Tank. I'm hoping that's what he doing. You know what I'm saying? But let me address. Go ahead. He said, hey Mike, what you think about the dudes that now said F Earl and now are Bud D riders? Laughing my ass off. I gotta hear your take. I seen it coming, man. Like I seen it. Like a lot of people done. They still. I've even as late as yesterday, people were still shitting on Earl Spence. They was still shitting on Earl Spence, right? And they was. I heard one of the biggest Bud Dick riders say, so now y'all want Bud to face King Kong, and y'all want him to face Godzilla, and why your favorite fighter pick and choose. I'm like, hold on, Earl. He was at 47. He was in the glamour division, and he did all of the heavy lifting. But let the revisionist historians tell you, or tell it, Bud did all of the heavy lifting. So that's their solace, is to say that Bud did all the heavy lifting. So that gives them the credibility that they need to sleep better at night. Well, I have a different theory. This is my theory. Now, you have to have skills to pay the bills to be able to do this, but I call it the dung beetle. It's like the dung beetle syndrome, right? So the dung beetle, they get all this shit. They pack, cause they get lumps of shit. Like they roll up all these lumps of shit. That's their thing. They get all the shit. They'll roll it up the hill. They do all the struggle. They might roll down, and then they gotta get it all the way back up to the top of the hill. And so there are certain dung beetles that'll allow you to get all of your shit together, get it all the way to the top of the hill. And right when you on that descension to come down after you did all the heavy lifting, they'll come out of a cut. They have these little cuts. They be in the sand waiting. They'll come out of the cut and run up on you and take that shit. And that's pretty much, I'm telling you, Bud has been a master at that shit, man. Like, and now you gotta have the skills, because what he did to Canelo, you gotta have the skills to be able to do it. Just ain't no anybody doing that.
Yeah.
Like the tactical way that he did that shit. Now think about it. He was able. So now unto the victor all the spoils. So he did that shit to Earl. He did that shit to Canelo. That shit needs to be studied. Now, The thing is, that is a monumental feat to do. Like, anybody can't just run out the cut and do that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that do that. We see it all the time in these heist movies, like where you done, like Ocean's 11, where you done did all mad work, B. You done put the whole cast together. You done did all that. You got the jewels. And then soon you get home, it's a nigga waiting on the couch, like lay it on, run them shits.
Yeah.
And they out. That's all the solace they need, Eric Joe's like, hey, in his own way, man, Bud is a bad motherfucker. Now, when you want to hold everything up to the light, because now they say, I ain't never seen a resume. I ain't never seen you beat somebody with a resume. I ain't never seen no resume show up and beat. I'm like, but now you shooting yourself in your own goddamn foot with that argument, because y'all say the same shit about Tank now.
Yeah.
It's like, what champion right now done beat a motherfucker that done went up 2 weight classes above where they at, and they got champions, they got belts. Rolly and Barrios, he stopped them, but they up there with belts. Shakur ain't got nobody on his resume that did that. Devin ain't got nobody on his resume that did that. But all of his predecessors, all of his contemporaries, they ain't none of them got that. Like, neither one of them fought nobody that's up at welterweight reigning right now.
Yeah.
But so they shoot holes in resumes. Now, I don't see me. I'm at the point to where it's like, look, man, I give Bud his credit. And I give him his just due for everything he was able to do. It's to the point to where when you start shitting on Floyd in favor of Bud, or you start shitting on things that Canelo did prior to Bud fighting him in favor of him, or you start shitting on what Errol Spence did prior to Bud in favor of him, it's like, okay, cool. Like, now he was a bad man by beating him and taking all unto the victor goes all the spoils. But once you start shitting on people that came and went before you that did it, then done way more and like was more like the shit that Floyd did. Like, I heard people for the last 2 weeks, I've heard all this shit about. It's like, stop it, y'all, stop it. And like, it's not a good time to be trying to defend Floyd, because on his way out, he was saying, I'm robbing the bank. I can't knock him, because if we could rob the bank, we'll be robbing the bank too. If you could get away legally, if you could do that shit legally, you would be doing it.
Yeah.
So, but it's to the point to where I don't even allow myself to engage in conversations with people who want me to start shitting on what Floyd did in favor of Bud, or start shitting on Earl because he lost the Bud. Because I heard, listen, I heard somebody say this about Canelo. They said, man, shit, you can't knock Canelo because he arguably lost to one of the best pound for pound greatest ever and all blah blah blah. I was like, okay, so why do y'all shit on Earl?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, why do y'all see? But when you catch them, it depends on when, and then all of a sudden, oh man, there you go. It's like, no, because y'all people, I'm telling you, like how I started off this whole thing where I said that it's not Bud, it's his fans that make you do this. It'll make Bud think that you just hating us. Like, no, I'm kicking the shit out of your fans, your own fans who make us do this shit.
I'm just responding to them dudes. Now, I'm gonna say this. I gave Bud his props. I look back to many of the talking points where, you know, people were saying, you know, what Bud did isn't special. Henry Armstrong did X, Y, and Z, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, okay, listen. The only pushback I'm gonna give you to that argument is the fact that you have to go that far back in history to find someone comparable to done what Bud has done, because it hasn't been done in the 2-belt era, it wasn't done in the 3-belt era, it was done in the 4-belt era by a guy who first did it and broke that thing with the second time he did it. Then he jumps 2 weight classes and does it in an impressive fashion, you know, to get it 3 times. So if you got to go back that far, then are you not giving the man the credit that he deserves? You feel what I'm saying? Now, as far as Floyd, you could have those talking points, and to me, to a certain degree, because you can say it like this, right? In what division does Terrence Crawford have more than let's say 8 title defenses? You give him 47. That's the only division you can give him. The rest of the divisions he's been in, what is the number of title defenses that he has? It's usually less than 4, because he'll get a belt and then fight his way up to it. I don't remember his clear path, and I don't want to try to guess at it. I just have to read to make sure what I'm thinking is correct.
Who, Floyd's?
No, for Bud Crawford at 40, because I think he went up to 40 and fought for 2 belts, or he might have fought for 1 belt using his WBO. Then he got his second belt, and then he fought Ndongo for the unification and undisputed. So I don't remember if his path at 140 was 3 or 4 fights, 5 fights, or less than 3 fights.
Right.
But the point I'm making is, overall, when you look at the stats on Floyd Mayweather, that man has 28 title defenses over multiple divisions. 28 of them motherfuckers. Bud Crawford doesn't have those stats. I do give Bud Crawford as being one of the most, or probably the most decorated fighter in boxing history, because it's hard for me to think of a guy who has more accolades than what Crawford has.
Yeah, now see that's okay. So if you want to have, let's say these are for like it's 2 different arguments now. You got one for boxing scholars and historians, ones that'll say, okay, as far as accolade, like how you say, most accomplished, like, yeah, like, okay, cool, that's one argument.
Yes,
but you got to say it like this. The only other comparison, like, it's like this: Devin Haney versus Kambosos, Terrence Bud Crawford versus Canelo. That's 1 fight for undisputed. They both did it like that. Who do you give more weight to? You would definitely give the more weight to Bud doing it to Canelo.
Yeah.
But then you got to look at it like, okay, well, both of these guys fought 1 time and got all the belts. What about what Jamel did at 54? We had to collect them all in a division that's been popping. Like, they think 54 just got lit. It's been that competitive. They've been playing King of the Hill over that motherfucker for years.
Julian Jackson, Demetrius Andrade, both the Charlo brothers, Errol Spence was kind of talking, being there. Keith Thurman, Sean Porter. I mean, bro, tell me a name in boxing who wasn't at 54.
So 54, it was Rosario, it was Lubin, yeah, it's been, but see, what I'm saying is, okay, this is why I say, okay, that's why I say the OnlyFans of Terrence Bud Crawford, the TBC OnlyFans, they do him a disservice by creating these kind of conversations, because it's one thing to say, okay, accomplished, but like all of the paths, like the path, like the fact that Earl, he came up, he got Jeff Horn after that war with Manny Pacquiao. After that, it was, yeah, he knocked out everybody in that division. That says something too. But Amir Khan had already been knocked out by Canelo. He had already been knocked, and before that, he got knocked out by Danny Garcia. Kell Brook had already had both cheekbones broke. Like, you know, like, it's like, but when you go down through that, you take away from Bud by going down through that, but they do that to everybody else. It's like, that's why I say it's senseless to go down that path when it comes down to trying to do this. But you gotta draw a line when you have those conversations when it comes to Bud, because it's like, look, man, I don't want to take away from your accomplishments no more. I'm done. Like, okay, listen, you a badass dude, like, you a tough motherfucker, but we not gonna rewrite history for you. That's where I'm gonna stop and say no, because we got you on Akim Barak. We got you on Akim Barak when you were saying no. Tell Earl get his panties, like, after he got in the accident, tell him get his drawers out his butt and fight me. And then when they interviewed you again, you gonna fight him? Like, nah, that fight's behind me, it's beneath me. It's like, but then in present day and time, they still sitting up here talking about for years Earl ducked him. It's like, no, bro, no, we're not gonna rewrite history for you. We've been around. So for those of us that was around when Floyd was doing it, you're not gonna tell me it's a gauntlet that he ran like Floyd. Like, you're not gonna say chop chop. He didn't go up against a chop Corley in the motherfucking Zab Judah, in the motherfucking Castillo, in the fucking Maidana. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, like, them alone, like, you can't. No, man, no, we're not gonna rewrite history for you.
Yeah.
But don't make us, as fans, as pure boxing fans, you gotta respect our gangster and the fact that we've been around and we know the climate of what, like, we know that. Listen, it's like this. We know that Sean Porter was a better Sean Porter going up against Errol Spence than the Sean Porter that fought Bud. But I'm not gonna take credit for what you did to Sean Porter, Bud. You did what you were supposed to do. Just like I'm not gonna take away credit from what you did to Earl, because Earl got his ass in his ring, in that ring, in the condition that he was in. I can't take nothing from you from what you did. But we know what was going on at the time. You want us to forget about that just to get on our knees. We're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
That's why I tell the OnlyFans, drop that shit and leave it alone, because you make us peel up that motherfucking carpet and look up under it and be like, nope. You know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that I got a video, I could play this video right now where Kenny Porter did an interview, and the dude asked him, he said, man, that night at the fight, he said, what would you have told me? He said, I would have told you, buy the fight, but don't bet. Like, I got it. It's in one of my videos.
Yeah.
It's like, and so they said that it was times in that training camp, Sean said for the first time in training camp, he told his father no. And they talked about throwing in the towel. He said they had never done that before. But you want the same credit. You want us to give you the same credit for that we gave, like, and you want us to shit on Earl when Earl dropped his ass, like, Earl made his eye roll back in his head, and Sean fought Earl like he was trying to earn the love of his father in that fight. He didn't fight you the same way. He was falling asleep in interviews, calling fights prior to that. You want us as historians to forget about that shit? It's like, no, leave it alone. You sparked his ass in the history books. You stopped him. You made his father throw in the towel. Live with that. They won't just let you live with that. They make you pull back that veil and go into the history of the shit. And that's when it starts being like, oh, you just hate Bud. It's like, no, you make us do that when you do this. Let's just say the man is accomplished and he's a bad motherfucker. He got that dung beetle effect. You know what I'm saying? And then you gotta be a bad motherfucker, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I be saying, man. It's like in the way like it's just like Canelo, because we do the same thing with Canelo, like when Caleb Plant wanted the 10 mil and he didn't want him to do it. He didn't want to do it. So Canelo's like, all right, you want to do that? All right, well, wait your ass right there. He left motherfucking Caleb Plant on pause. He went and took another fight, then he spent the block and he came back. We don't forget about that when it came down to Canelo and how that all went down. We don't forget about Canelo when he dodged when Demetrius Andre was over there with the zone. When he left over there, and it was Triple G and him. It was Triple G. They was on the out. It was Triple G, him, and Canelo. And the only one that won the fight was Canelo and Triple G. He wouldn't even let Andre. So we're gonna forget about that? Like, we're not gonna forget about that.
Yeah. Now,
so we're not gonna do that. Like when it comes down with Bud, we're not gonna forget some of the times. It's just like the whole thing. Like they keep saying they wouldn't let Bud play in any reindeer games. And I'm like, it's the same shit. Cause I'm in real time, I look at the shit that they be trying to say about Tank when Top Rank had the other 3 bouts.
Yeah.
It's like Top Rank had the other 3 bouts. What has changed? It was like vice versa. It was like, no, you can't have it both ways. But then that's when they say, oh, nah, here you go. And then they want to forget and omit. It's like, we're not going to do it. So stop going down these paths. Just give that man his credit. Say that he's most accomplished, but don't try to undermine everybody else, because we know in real time what the real deal was. Think about it like this. Canelo Alvarez had a fight with Floyd. Bud is older than Canelo. That was almost that was a decade ago that him and Floyd fought.
Yeah.
So for Bud to come in and do it, you gotta take other things in consideration when you go about how that fight actually went down. But you gotta tell me that, because they've been telling you this, like they've been trying to say, oh man, Canelo, he ain't the same, he's kind of worn down, he's battle worn, he's battle torn, he's this and this and that. But they want you to take away from what Floyd. It's like they want you to replace Floyd with Bud when Floyd did that shit 10 years ago. It's like, no, bro. Like, no, man. Just say that. Listen, man. He earned his place in boxing history as one of the best to ever lace him up. And as far as, like you said, he's gonna probably be one of the most accomplished, because 3 times undisputed. When you start getting into, okay, well, are all undisputed created equal? That's a whole different conversation. For people that really want to keep it a buck about what does it mean undisputed, because you got to think, even Earl getting 3 of the belts, Earl going through the war to get 3 of them, Jermell Charlo going through the war to get all 4. Like that's a feat, bro, for how competitive the divisions were.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? That's what I've been sitting back listening. It's been hard for me to sit back and just listen to these people, because it's like y'all want to do praise and worship. I don't want to do that. I just want to talk boxing.
Yeah, there's all type of, I would say, categories and context you can put in just the whole conversation of, who are the baddest. Yes, there are general rules or whatever that people tend to follow, but it's still to a large degree highly subjective. You feel what I'm saying? As long as the debate for me makes sense and things are plausible in what's being said, then I could have the debate with you. If it's just on some next level, I don't know what the fuck you really talking about, because we're looking at, all right, I said in order for certain things, for me to make certain things, the performance level had to be there. The performance was there, but was it at the level of what I might have imagined it to be? Because I was saying that the situation, weight's not going to matter. He had way too much time to put on the weight and actually get acclimated. It's just going to come down to a skills thing. And I felt that Canelo stylistically was tailor-made. even though he's a hell of a fighter. And some people would ask me, then how could you say that? And I said, okay, so if Canelo's different and you don't want me to make that argument, in the stylistic argument of come forward fighters, where do you place Canelo as far as like the Marvin Hagler, who was a come forward fighter, the Roberto Duran's, your Cesar Chavez, you know, the Cottos and other fighters like that? Where do you place Canelo as far as being a legendary come forward fighter? Would you place him in the top 5? You feel what I'm saying? So when it comes down to shit like that, I was just like, all right, we can have these different debates, but then they're going to be other side debates that have context to it. So I make my statement. I try to come up with things that I feel are factual to say, all right, from this perspective, this is where I would be saying this, and that, because you can't tell me another fighter that has more accolades than this man. And if accolades are will be touted as, okay, I look at your resume and then I look at what you've accomplished. How do I look at the fighters that you actually beat to accomplish this thing? You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you start to break down those dynamics, and then now there are gray areas, and history will exploit those gray areas to some degree. But then the general premise is, once that man's name is in the Hall of Fame, those gray areas are going to be somewhat probably whitewashed. It's going to be hard to find the information that you're talking about, because then that information is only verbal. People are not going to look for those deep dive articles to find out, and those deep dive people who may be long gone from social media, but these videos exist and they're like, oh, I think I saw something, but I don't remember the guy's name, who was talking about all of these things that Terence Crawford didn't do, and the way he made these moves, you know, some of the moves he made at 47 and 40 and stuff like that. These arguments will be dust in the wind, because once that man's name is in that Hall of Fame, it is what it is. Ali's name is in the Hall of Fame, but who really gives a fuck about the names who beat him?
Exactly.
You feel what I'm saying? So that's kind of the point I'm making on that. I wanted to go back to a point when you was bringing up Floyd Mayweather, right? And how people are getting on Tank for this situation. Was Floyd Mayweather, and I'm just asking this question as a semantic question to the boxing fans, was Floyd Mayweather an active champion when he fought Logan Paul? Was he an active champion when he fought Conor McGregor? So when you talk about influential people in boxing, I didn't hear this type of, you know, at this level, and all of this other stuff, people coming off their face and calling Floyd Mayweather a duck and all of this other stuff, and you fucking up your career. I've heard kind of rumblings of that, but it wasn't louder than the fact that, oh shit, Floyd Mayweather is fighting Logan Paul in a boxing match. Not an exhibition, a boxing match. Oh shit, Floyd Mayweather is fighting Conor McGregor in a boxing match. That was Conor McGregor's debut. So there was Keith Thurman, who was there. There was one of the Charlos that was there. Keith Thurman was Floyd's mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, it's like, I can hear what you guys are saying about this, but do you know, I can just ask you one question. Are you a huge fan of Floyd Mayweather? And if you tell me, yeah, Floyd is one of the greatest fighters that ever did it, ever lived, and Floyd, I'm like, okay. So I'm about to destroy your argument and expose the true level of hate you just have for Tank. because Floyd Mayweather fought Conor McGregor and he also fought Logan Paul.
This is what it boiled down to, though, for real, AC. It's really whoever got the narrative by the cojones. It's really whoever got the narrative by the cojones. Because think about it like this, and I got 1,000 of these examples. Okay, people scoff at the fact that AJ, they scoffed at AJ for beating Ngannou, right? And they say, "Oh man, yeah, it was only because." But you gotta think, that same dude, in my book, he beat Fury.
Yeah.
And that wasn't even the initial. The initial one who was supposed to do it was Wilder. Actually introduced that conversation. They was actually lining up Wilder. He was first.
Yeah.
So they lined up Wilder to have that fight. Somehow that didn't happen. Somebody shit the bed. That didn't happen. That dude arguably beat Fury. They don't say nothing about that. Like, he got robbed. And then they shit on AJ for actually dusting them off. But people who was following the bouncing ball all along know that wasn't the initial talk wasn't for AJ. It was for Wilder. And Ngannou actually beat Fury by my scorecards.
Yeah,
the other thing is this. How many times have we heard, let's just take Shakur. They said Shakur went over there to the zone because he had to feed his family. I gotta feed my family, and I'm going to go get the bag, and it's for the money. It's like, well, he's going to go get a bag. He said he's going to go get a bag. So when Tank do some shit to go get a bag, it's like, no, they pick and choose when it was for the money, because when it was Canelo, it was like, oh, so it's eyes on the sport, and they gonna get paid, brother. Like, you can't knock them for that. But when Tank is going to do it for the eyes on the sport and get paid, brother, it's like, nah, that's a black eye. It's like, I can go on and on for days with this shit.
Yeah. That's why me personally, I'm not subscribing to the whole black eye to boxing narrative when there's arguably a guy that people are, across the board saying is one of the best that ever did, or the best of this generation, and you can't bring up these fighters' names in this guy's and in the same way with this guy. But I'm still like, okay, I get all of that. But do you know he still fought fucking, Logan Paul, Jake Paul's brother, and he still fought Conor McGregor, and he made a bag on fighting $400 fucking million, and that's partly due because he put a bet on himself. So I'm like, bro, we all saw that man carry Conor McGregor. He could have knocked that nigga out. It looked like he did knock that nigga out, and Logan Paul. So my point is this, bro. I'm not mad at Tank for doing what he's doing. I'm just not a person that really gets into the exhibition thing. Yes, it's fun. It has a place. I'm not gonna sit here and bullshit anybody and say by the time this fight comes on, I'm not gonna watch it. I'd be lying through my fucking teeth if I said it, because I'm watching the undercard. You feel what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's still gonna be that curiosity. Like, let's see what this nigga really gonna do. What this fight really gonna look at. The Mike Tyson and Jake Paul thing fucked me up because I just felt Mike Tyson was way too old to be in the ring. But when I rewatched the fight, after I got past my feelings, you feel what I'm saying? And notice how I'm letting everybody know I was in my feelings watching that fight, because my closeness to Mike Tyson, the fact that I used to work for him and shit like that, I just didn't like to see that version of Mike Tyson walking into a ring. I wanted to keep the memory of Mike Tyson that I had, whether he won or lost in his last few fights. It was just still that ring walk and that viciousness he had in his face. That's what I wanted my lasting memories to be. So I was in my feelings. But when I rewatched the fight and I saw how Jake Paul was kind of styling, not in a disrespectful way, but in a way that kind of said, listen, this is Mike Tyson. There's no way in the world I'm going to go in here and try to really, really put hands on this 60-year-old boxing legend. And I was like, all right, I respect that. And then what he said afterwards, it was like, all right, Jake, I'll let this one ride, man. Otherwise, I think I'd have been the type of dude that if you was in my presence, I'd have just punched you in the face like, yo, I'm sorry. It was just a involuntary reaction to seeing you, hearing your voice, and just remembering how much you disrespected Mike Tyson. You know, but at the end of the day, I just put those feelings aside. I did watch the fight. I did gain a little respect for him as far as how he handled that whole situation after the fight and everything, and everything leading up to the fight. Yeah, it made me feel like, yeah, that slap was staged and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I got smacked because I was talking shit to one of my elders, like to the OG. So yeah, all right, I'll hold that one. I ain't even gonna be mad at it. It's not like a Caleb Plant Jamal Charles slap, so I'm good. You feel me? Tank doing what he doing with what's the name? I'm not promoting the fight. And things like that. I'm not gonna be the one like, yo, tune in because this shit's gonna be epic for boxing history. I really don't know what these type of fights are gonna do for the future of boxing, but I do know this: if we keep talking about fans, UFC is in a free fall right now because of Dana White's political relationship and the mere fact that the dude's an asshole. Everybody loves the fact that Sean Tizell got up there and called him and Turkey out on a little tournament thing and trying to fuck with the Muhammad Ali Act. That shit was brilliant. Kudos to you, bro. I love that type of journalism. Speak truth to the power. And you seen the Turk was like, we'll let this guy ask questions, fucking up my Riyadh season. You feel what I'm saying? And I just love that energy. So will this type of thing do good for boxing? It could, because at the end of the day, people will know. I don't have to deal with the Turk's bullshit and, some of his heavy-handed tactics and things like that, and them trying to circumvent Muhammad Ali Act. Jake Paul is not even thinking about touching any of the actual rules. He's just doing what he's doing and putting another spotlight to say, yeah, it might be room for another promoter and someone who can bring something different to the sport that's entertaining. So I just want to see the fallout of this particular situation, because I think this situation is going to let us know really what's going to be good for the sport of boxing. And I think if they do anywhere between 60 and 50 and 70 million for this fight, I think Jake Paul is on to something, and it's going to lead to good things to boxing. But I don't know. I can't say that for sure right now.
Yeah. I think I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure. I'll speak on it though. I'll speak on it. I'll speak on what I think. I just think that what we gotta really do is, if you're gonna have an honest conversation when it comes down to like novelty boxing, we gotta lump all of these novelty fights like in the same category and judge them accordingly. Like you can't take and put, even though it's still a circus, let me say, like, you can't take and look at this fight. You can't even compare this Tank and Jake fight with the Conor Ben and Eubanks fight. It's like those are real fighters, even though it's still a circus. But see, this is novelty boxing. As long as you look at it like, okay, like the Jake Paul and the Tyson shit, that shit, and then this Tank shit and the Jake Paul shit, yeah, you can compare that shit. Like the novelty shit, compare novelty with novelty. Don't compare it with the other shit and
Yeah.
try to make it be something whatever. Because I heard Jake say some shit like, "Oh, I'm gonna be 15. I'm gonna be ranked number 15 in the cruiserweight." I'm like, yeah, but like if I put your ass in there with Jao Pataya right now and you don't pay him and y'all don't sign no contract behind closed doors, you're going to sleep. He might, unalive you. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
it's
he'll
like
kill us.
I don't even want it to be misconstrued.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so as long as you comparing novelty with novelty and not people who've been doing this shit really from like the 6th grade and everything's even. It ain't no whatever like clauses and like, because it's an exhibition. Like you can't treat it like
it's a 70-pound weight difference.
Yeah, you gotta look at it like this is you gotta look at it like, okay, that's an exhibition. So judge exhibition with exhibition,
yeah,
and novelty with novelty, not real boxing, because the lines are getting blurry. And to the casual who's gonna be talking, and because people don't want to upset nobody, or let's just say Cameron and them come out and say something and they dead ass wrong. It's gonna people that ain't gonna say nothing because they don't want the backlash or they don't want to be on. But it's people like myself that's gonna say fuck no. Like, you know what I'm saying? As a purist, I'm gonna look at it in a pure way. I'm not gonna construe the lines. And I think the more we have conversation and people have these conversations online, that's what we gotta do.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? You gotta clearly set the standard on how you're gonna talk about them. Outside of that, it's just a circle jerk or whatever agenda whoever's holding the conversation or having the narrative by the cojones, whatever they want to push. Because we see this on these big ass channels every day. They got an agenda they're going to push, and it's like everybody be acting so dumbfounded. Oh no, I don't think it's really like. And if everybody know what the fuck is going on, it's like no, y'all not being real about it.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. Like, that's all I'm saying about it. So I don't knock Tank for going to go get his bag, especially with the landscape or whatever. And like in the same, and I say, listen, it be all this accountability for the guys like Tank. Now you seen what Bud just did compared to what they say he got paid to go grab his nuts to go do whatever it is he gonna go do. But ain't no accountability for all these people that just can blab out Tank name and say, oh, he don't want to fight me, he don't want to do this. But when they point when he have you in the crosshairs and his team say, hey, what's up? What's going on? Let's sit down and let's hash this out. It's like, oh no, that ain't enough. And they ain't this. Well, you don't want to fight. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Because from what I'm hearing, I find it hard to believe that Bud took what he took to go do that. I'm like, is that real or not? Like, did he really, like, they saying 10 to 12 million or some shit like that for that? I'm like, is that all he really got to go do that?
Nah, I heard a way higher number.
Oh, because I don't know. I don't get into the numbers, but I'm like, if they saying that, it's like, okay, well, that's some I'm gonna grab my nuts and go test my gangster type stuff. Like they saying 10. I was hearing 10 to 12. I heard Buzz say I'm only getting 10. Now I don't know if it was something added on the back end. I heard him say that, but that was prior to the fight.
From what some of the people I was hearing talk about it, it was somewhere between 40 and 60. Canelo got 100 plus. Bud got somewhere between 40 and 60. I can't confirm that. I don't know. Only thing I ever checked on the financials for that fight was what was the gate and what were the viewerships. 41 million viewed worldwide. Gate was supposed to be something like a record-breaking 47 million. So I'm just like, okay. As far as what he got paid, I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But it's
what I was just gonna land on was I was sitting here laughing at the fact you were saying that you was calling it a circus, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna fuck with Body for a minute. I'm gonna ask him, okay, so if it's a circus, I'm gonna ask you this: is it Ringling Brothers or Cirque du Soleil?
Yeah, this is more on the Cirque du Soleil right here. Like, yeah, this is some Cirque du Soleil shit right here. This that caviar, like they ain't gonna be serving no motherfucking beanie weenies and franks out that much.
Exactly.
You know what I'm
There
saying?
will be no popcorn at the concession stand.
You might get a pan of lasagna out that bitch.
Exactly. It'll be caviar with sour cream and a corn bellini. So I just had to bring that point in because I'm sitting here laughing to my head and I'm like, all right, as soon as he bring it up again, I'm gonna say it, because the other times I was like, oh, I missed him because he's in the middle of his cooking shit like that. But yeah, I just wanted to ask that because it had me laughing in my head about the whole thing. But yeah, I would probably say it's probably more on the Cirque du Soleil side of things and shit like that, because although this is an exhibition, it's coming with an active, face of boxing type of person. So as far as the spectacle and shit like that, again, like for me, it's all about the aftermath. That's all I'm concerned with right now. I'm not gonna lie, I am gonna watch the fight. I'm really excited to see. I think Gary Antoine Russell is defending his title against Hiroko on this card.
Yeah.
So I'm like, bruh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Jake, you kind of fucking around where you make it difficult for people to kind of stay with the whole.
It's hard.
Because you're giving us such a crazy ass undercard, and then on top of that, your fight is an exhibition. So it's like, I can say this part is an exhibition, but everything else is for real boxing. So it's like, oh my God, bro, you playing a nasty game, my guy. And you gotta respect that. That's a nasty ass game, but ooh, it's paying dividends though. He got boxing talking about him in a legit manner.
Yeah, but yeah, I'll talk more once I have more about that. But like he's been clever at doing that. That's why I say it's not like I dislike Jake. It's just for me as the boxing purist, as far as where boxing is going, I think I'm responsible enough. It's almost like this is my last example before I bring everything home. It's like I'm responsible enough to listen to certain kind of music in spurts without me wanting to go out and do the things that I hear in the music. Now I know it's fucking with my subconscious because I'm putting it in my system, right? But I'm responsible enough. Now my son, you know what I'm saying, that's 13, he ain't. Like, so he can't sit around and listen to that stuff for 8 hours, like without it at his tender age wanting him to go out and do everything he hear in it. So I'm responsible enough to look at a fight like this and say, all right, this is what this was. This is what this is what that is, and keep it moving. But the people that have the narratives by the cojones and have all of the power in the media and around the sport, they've been twisting this into something else to where it's like, nah, man, like keep it in the perspective that it needs to be. This is novelty boxing, bro.
Yeah.
This is more. It's the same thing y'all were trying to say it was when it was with Canelo. It's no different because it's Tank. You see, That's when y'all actually show your underwear, you show your panties, when you try to make it seem like it's something different. Because when it was Canelo, it's eyes for the sport and it's money, man. They gonna make so much bread. But when it's Tank, it's look at him, man. He still ain't fighting nobody. It's like, no, this is novelty boxing. It is what it is. It's a money grab. right? And on the undercard, it's exposure because the women get to go 12 3-minute rounds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Gary Antoine get to defend his strap against Hirioka, who stopped Jin Sasaki, who was the guy who Brian Norman knocked out. It's circular reasoning. Like, it's a little bit of everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, so Avius Griffin get to get his redemption and see what he looked like coming back up against a dude named Caesar. So it's stuff in there, but it's like, be responsible about the conversation and say exactly what it is. Don't try to paint it like it's something else because it's Tank and you don't like him and you don't want him to have the money and you think he should be doing this. Because if it was Canelo, I'd be saying the same shit. Like, no, Canelo need to be fighting somebody who we fucking want him to fight.
Yeah.
Like, when we wanted him to fight Benavidez, we would have still been talking about him, Benavidez. We would have still been talking about Tank and Shakur. It's just that the names have switched up and everybody acting brand new.
Yeah. Now, the reason why people, it's more understanding for me to get where you're coming from and things like that, because you're taking the standpoint of being a responsible content creator. You feel what I'm saying? So you enjoyed the sport that much that you wanted to make content on the sport. There are plenty of fans like myself and probably half the people who listen, or probably all the people who listen. Well, I'd say a good portion of them. You know, we all love the sport, but we love it to a certain point that we're not going to make content about it. We'll have plenty of conversation about it. We'll engage in conversation and start conversation. But to put our shit out there, to take the time to pay for streaming and to do the thing that you're doing, that shows a whole nother level of understanding, appreciation, and dedication. So for a person like myself, there is room for me to have my opinion about the Jake Paul and whatever it is I'm saying. You feel what I'm saying? I'm not out here a person saying from right now, like I've heard other people say, that no, I ain't got no problem with it because I think it's great for the sport. And I'm trying to figure out, okay, how did you make that connection? I'm just asking the question so we can have an intelligent debate, because, you know, if I agree with you, then our debate is not, you know, it doesn't turn into anything but two people talking to each other inside of a bubble. But if I disagree with you, then we can have a healthy debate, or I see what you're saying to a certain point, but how you wrap it together, it's like, I don't know if I could wrap it in that blanket. So when it comes down to looking at what the content creator is putting out there and their opinions and their stuff like that, you got some content creators that seem like they do no research. They just get out there and start shooting shit from the hip and just talking shit, and whatever sticks to the fucking wall, that's what they got. Yeah, that was my talking point. That was my video. And it's like, bro, if I go back and watch that video, you was all over the fucking place. There was no agenda. And then you just stumbled on that point, and now you hindsighting the shit out of me, talking about that video was only about that thing when it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. I heard. Look. I'm gonna land it here. I heard a dumbass dude, and his dude been doing content, and he pretty popular. I heard this dumbass dude making this point today, and like the way I see it is, everybody have a target audience, right? My market is, I'm really for the hardcores. I'm really for the integrity of the sport, and to like the examples, like me highlighting what Abdullah Mason is doing versus what Schofield is doing. Me highlighting how Oshaki Foster and Stephen Fulton, they on some legacy shit where I don't know what Richardson Hitchens is on right now. You know, like the bare bones, what hardcores want, and then me, I'm gonna eventually get this point home about Brian Norman. Once we get done, but like me highlighting what should be done as a, like, from a hardcore perspective, to where is my belief is, if the fighters that I highlight continue to do the things that make me highlight them, the sport is going to be in a wonderful place.
Yeah.
Why? Because we get to see the best. Ultimately, we're going to see the best fight, right? And the money and them being able to sustain themselves is going to be a possibility in that way. But see, I heard this dumbass dude where all he do is fucking laugh. Like, he laugh 75% of the time when he's talking. He's laughing, he's giggling and shit, and that's all he do. It's like you are doing this because you always know, and I've seen him, because this is no harm, no foul. But I told this other dude to his face, well, straight up in a message, and he was like, "Oh, well, you seem like you know exactly what you know who I'm talking about." I told him that that's what he do. They make a living being the anti to certain individuals. So what his thing was, with this one guy who kept laughing and giggling, what he kept saying today is, you want my favorite fighter to go fight King Kong, and you want your fighter to go fight a Care Bear, or go fight My Little Pony and all this. And I'm like, and I asked the question, okay, well, let's just say my favorite fighter is Tank, right? Well, if my favorite fighter is Tank has fought two of the champions that's two weight divisions, sitting in seats 2 weight divisions higher than them. But see, because people like doing that hindsight is 2020 shit, and they like wait until after the fact. It's like, yeah, because your fighter just went and did some shit, right? He ultimately went and did some shit. Now you're gonna revise history and say that your fighter did go fight King Kong, your fighter did go fight Godzilla, but we both know the fucking truth. So it would look like, because your fighter just went and fucked up Canelo a decade after Floyd did it, it would look like he's King Kong, but my fighter done stopped two dudes that's 2 divisions higher, sitting with major titles right now that people gotta go see in the glamour division. But see, but because my favorite fighter is fighting a YouTuber and your favorite fighter just went for Canelo, you would think you got more power, you know what the fuck you talking about, just because your fighter just did that. It's like, no, there are nuances to this conversation that more people need to be aware of and be responsible with when you're having these conversations, because you'll sit up here and make it seem like Tank ain't fought nobody, but everybody want to fight his leftovers, or the people that he's fought at the style. He's always been at the disadvantage, and he's fought people where he didn't have all the advantages. He's done some things that your fighter has yet to do, but because you base your shit on accolades and timing and waiting and like you base your shit on a whole bunch of stuff and come around in hindsight to create your narratives, and I do my shit in real time, it would seem like you know a lot more about this shit than I do. When the truth you couldn't be further from the truth. It's just, you know your market, your target audience. I know mine. And by default, you're going to have a couple 100,000. You're going to have a bunch of motherfuckers sitting around because all you do is fucking laugh. I'm serious. I'm trying to give people that listen to this shit like, I ain't think about that. Yeah. I never analyzed it like that. Like, maybe he's onto something. Maybe I should look at this guy, because by the book, this guy's the one that's really doing like the shit that Brian Norman doing. Like, by the book, this is who we should be looking at. But
and just piggyback, now that you brought his name in, this is where I'm gonna land it, so you could bring this whole conversation full circle. For me, I believe deep down, Brian Norman is going to become the face of boxing in a manner that hasn't been done in a very, 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 very long time. I'm talking about a couple of decades here, 10, 20 years or so. And that is, he's going to become the face of boxing in an organic matter. You feel what I'm saying? Because of the moves he's making, because of certain things that that's going to happen for him. Me personally, I feel he stops Devin Haney in this fight coming up. I think he feels he has to stop Devin Haney in this fight coming up in order for him to be even considered in certain conversations, in order for people to take his career and the fact of who he is and the mere fact of the energy he's been gaining every time he's in front of a camera and things like that. I think he understands that this is my Eminem moment. This is where I gotta lose myself in this moment and fucking stop this dude. This fight cannot go to the judges, because if it goes to the judges, even if I win by a split decision, it may have the weird fans and everybody want to demand a rematch, and then in that rematch I have to stop him. So you might as well get it out the way the first time. This propels you into that just because of what the boxing world feels. Not the boxing fans, what the boxing world feels as far as the narrative goes with Devin Haney. You know what I'm saying? So you'll have stopped the guy who beat Lomachenko. You'll have stopped the guy who beat George Kambosos twice in Australia. You feel what I'm saying? You'll have stopped the guy who beat Regis Prograis. You would have stopped the guy who was cheated out of the Ryan Garcia fight. So yeah, there's some narrative there that this is why you're going to assume all of that great energy, and this is what's going to always keep your name once Tank gets to that point, because I still think that's another threshold. But just like everybody else, you got the main guy who people are saying the face of boxing, and then there's the other one who's the shadow face of boxing. If I
cut out. You cut out. You cut out, AC.
wherever you want me to go to fight you, we could do whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm here to make the big fights. I'm here to show the boxing world what it is and stuff like that. And he's extremely believable. So he will be the face of boxing. And I could probably say within the next 3 years, maybe even sooner, depending on what Tank does after this Jake Paul fight. But he's going to be the guy that people will be like, yeah, he's the face of boxing. Now, you're going to have some goofy fans that, hell no, it's Boots. You mean this, Brian Norman Jr.? You ain't even talking about Boots.
Nah, like, bro. Don't even get me started on Boots, bro.
But you got it. I mean, bro, am I off cue by foreseeing this?
Yeah, because that's the politically correct thing to do. And it's like right now, it's like, and this is what's been hurting boxing. It's because people been playing politics and they do this shit every day. It's like right now, if I come out and I tell you really how I feel, like I've been doing these last couple of times about what Boots been doing and how he's been mismanaged, somebody gonna say, oh, here we go. It's another black man hating on the blickety black man. It's like, no, bro. This is what's hurting the sport because we can't be real about what's really going on. Yeah. And this is why this is a good lead on to why my argument is that, because I don't know what's going on with Tank. I know the last fight he had with Lamont, he was uninspired. The shit didn't change since then because they didn't want him to fight Lamont. They said he didn't fight nobody. And then when he was like, all right, well, shoot, I'm going to go ahead and do the rematch. They said, oh, he going to rematch Lamont Roach. And then when some time went by, they said, oh, no, what you mean he ain't fighting Lamont Roach? What you mean he fighting? It's like, man, no matter what he do, they're going to take the opposite end. So I'm going to look at it like hypothetically. This is the way I'm looking at it. And this is why I wanted to do this live. I'm looking at it like, what if my guy decide he going to go hang it up? Because he is the face. So what my live right now is predicated on, if Tank say, I'm getting this bag and I'm out. That's what this live is predicated on. And this is where I'm going with this Brian Norman.
Okay.
So I got a theory.
And I'm gonna mute up and good chat with you, bro. That's where I landed my plane. I'll let you close this out because I gotta hear this. I don't even want to interrupt the talk during it.
Okay, cool. I appreciate you, bro. Thanks for jumping on. But yeah, see, this is my thing, right? This is my thing. This is what I've been getting at. This is why I think Brian Norman, he is poised to be the next face, right? Because you gotta think about it. To a certain extent, these guys are trying to do some of the things that Bud's doing, right? So this would be, because if you look at Devin and what he did when he first went to 140, what did he do? He moved up and he fought Regis. So when you look at what Bud did whenever he moved up the division, he fought a champion first. So he did that catchweight shit with Jose Ramirez. But officially moving to 47 and moving to welterweight, he's trying to do what Bud did. Bud got a Jeff Horn. He got a Brian Norman. So that's what he's trying to do. So these are the reasons. This is my argument. For one, Brian Norman is a legacy fighter. He's already in the glamour division, right? They said that the division wasn't anything after Bud and Earl and that whole thing had went away. But I beg to differ because there was a lot of people in the pipeline. It wasn't popular and people wanted to hitch their trailers to another wagon. We all were looking for who was next. Sometimes we were saying, okay, maybe it's Boots. Some people were saying, okay, well, Mario Barrios making some moves. Like some people, like for a little while, Jaleel Hacker was looking like the rough, rugged customer coming up. Like it was a couple people. Obvious Griffin, he was in there looking like, you know what I'm saying? It was like some potential there. So now you got like the Rohan Polancos, you got the Tiger Johnsons, you got a whole bunch of people at 47 that's getting ready to mix it up, right? Then you had Manny Pacquiao come back in that division, but everybody was waiting for it all to get hot. But what it was looking like, it was Boots and Brian Norman were looking like the next guys up. Boots was really looking like that guy, and he was looking like he really wanted to do what he said he was going to do by becoming undisputed. He grabbed 2 straps. He spanked Monte Stanyanis. You know what I'm saying? Had a little chit chat about fighting the Brian Norman and then skedaddled up to 54. That left Brian Norman. He's already a legacy fighter. You know, Brian Norman don't talk about no money. Yeah, he say, oh yeah, man, make it respectable, make it reasonable. But by the letter of the law and what everybody else got paid versus what they were trying to pay Brian Norman, he had every right to ask for that. He had every right to ask for whatever it was he was asking. People got into social media and started listening to what everybody was saying in social media and started running with it. Why? Because the people who had the narratives by the cojones was leading everybody down these paths with their finger in their noses, getting led by the noses, having to go this route. It's the same stuff that they do every time Boots. They grab you by your nose and try to lead you like what Boots is doing is all copacetic and it's right and exact. And it's not. It's not. He's already a legacy fighter. He's already a road warrior. You don't like, if people are saying, when are you going to fight in Atlanta? Not, oh, I have to fight in Atlanta, or I have to fight in Tennessee a couple hours from Atlanta, or the first part of Florida you can get to from, like, no, I don't have to fight in my backyard. He's already a road warrior, meaning that, hey, he said the ring is my home. It don't have to be in my backyard. It don't got to be right in my backyard. I don't mind coming over there. Hey, hell, I come to your country and spark you out. So he's a road warrior. He's a student of boxing. He looked at the guys of yesterday, the former champs. He looked up to Roy Jones. He said, man, I just want to have a conversation with Roy Jones. And since he said that, I believe they had a conversation. I seen an interview where I believe since he said that, they actually had a conversation. But he's a student. He can tell you who fought who, and he knows, and he's been watching. He's already faced adversity already. A lot of them times for them last, 6-7 fights, he was fighting with a messed up hand, broken hand, had to get surgery. It's evident because as soon as the hand got fixed, he wound up sparking people with that same hand that was surgically repaired. His pedigree, his father was a fighter. His father actually just laced him up and put hands and feet on one of them other dudes from up there in Philly. So he got the pedigree. His father boxed. He already knew. He already had a leg up. Not just being coached, not just being under the tutelage of all these, but coming from DNA that actually fought. That was actually a professional fighter, and then you're second generation. Whether or not he had all this success and had all these titles and all this championship and all this other stuff, that's not the point. The fact is he came from a pedigree of it. He embraces criticism. What are we looking for with these champions? Like in a sport where everybody gets on the scale and we have a criticism to say about all of these guys, he embraces the criticism. He'll actually say, yeah, you know what? You're right. I went back. I looked at the film. That was not my best performance. I saw a lot of things that I can do well. I've been working on them. And I promise you that you're going to see a change, which leads into number 4. He's progressive, meaning that every time we've seen this young man come out, he's been better than what he has been before. Because when I first saw him, I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw him, I heard his reputation preceded him, because I knew about him from his reputation in sparring with Tank and sparring with Bud, and they were saying his name was ringing bells in sparring, so his reputation preceded him. So when I first seen him and he came out, it wasn't his best fight. I was like, oh man, from the way they were talking, I was kind of like, you know, when people over embellish about a movie or whatever, and you go see the movie and you be like, y'all raving about this movie, or you go to a restaurant and they've been saying all this, like, man, the food is like, and then you go and you like, what? I'll cook better than this. Because I am a chef, you know what I'm saying? Not like AC, but I am a chef in my own right. Just ask my lady, you know what I'm saying? That's how I got her. You know what I'm saying? We'll talk about that some other time. But when I first saw him, man, I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I expected more. And I was like, well, let me see. Because I had heard so much and his reputation preceded him. So when I got to see him live, I was not that impressed. But every time I've seen him, he has gotten better. And that's what you want to see with the fighter. Every time I see Brian Norman, he's gotten better. He got a new wrinkle. He's doing something better. He's more impressive. Every time I've seen him, it's been a steady progression. He's been progressive. Number 3, he got a personality. I got family in the A, so I fit right in. Like the personality he got, the way I understand that personality and how he is, but he got a personality. You know what I'm saying? He's charismatic. It's not all, you don't have to worry about, you know how these guys, because when you look at it, like, yeah, Shakur, he'll get in front of a mic. Shakur is very well spoken, but what do we hear mostly from Shakur? We hear a lot of that Jedi mind trick stuff when it comes to him. Keyshawn, he was very well spoken. He crashed out. Like there was a couple people that they do well in front of a camera and they speak very well in front of a camera, and you can ask them questions and you can do all this and they very natural. Somebody like Devin, he's still not speaking for himself. His father's still speaking for him. People still talk about Tank and how he is now. When Tank be on one and he be getting smart and doing all this, but it was definitely not like how Floyd used to be charismatic on the mic. You don't have to worry about that with Brian Norman. Nobody's criticizing how he talks, and if you can understand him or whatever, people will actually be laughing. He don't be letting people trap him with questions. He keep it going. He wants to be challenged. He'll test you. He'll pump your brakes if he need to. He already got all that down. You already know that instinctually, intellectually, he's already on a level where he can handle being in front of a camera. He reads. 2, he got the image. He got the physique. He got the look. He looked like he can look the part. He looks like a killer. You know what I'm saying? He looks like when you see him, like sometimes I ain't gonna lie, I'll be watching fights with my lady And I'd be like, all right, babe, it's about to come on. And she come out, the first thing she do is bust her laugh. She like, these two about to fight. Who was like, he don't look like this man right here. His titties bigger than mine. Like, no, he actually looks the part. And number one, he got the style. He has a fan-friendly style. He has power. And lastly, he's a closer. He's a finisher. Why do people love Bud? He's a closer. Why do people love Tank? He's a closer. Jamel Charlo, when he's on top of his game, he's a closer. He can close. He can seal the deal. Oh, it's scheduled for 12 rounds. But these things, when you look at it, where he's at, he's young. He got youth on his side. He's not playing the whole, I need, no. When you look at fair market value and what he wanted and what he needed and what he was trying to do, he was absolutely right. Why? Because of the way Top Rank had him. He bet on himself. He was never in the plans. You got to think, he was that salmon swimming upstream, and he was not meant to be in the place where he's at now. But he bet on himself, and he had to show improve, and he did it as a road warrior. But all of the things and the intangibles and all those things that we ask for in these fighters and what we want and what we're looking for, he has them. So, being that people say he shouldn't be able to win this fight because Devin Haney's so skilled and all, but you got to think about it. He didn't do what these other guys do. When you look at all these other guys, the guys that's actually getting attributed for all of these accolades and all that, what did they do? They shrank themselves down and went down the weight classes that they had no business. When you look at what just happened with the Canelo fight and you listen to what Bomac was trying to say about what weight, and I used to talk about this all the time when Bud said he didn't eat for 2 days, 3 days, going all the way down to 35 and 40 and all that, like weight classes that people like Devin being down there killing himself to make that weight and being down there. This dude didn't do that. He got to cut a little weight, but he's closer to his walk around rate. He stays in shape. Like, he didn't shrink. He's not killing himself going down. Like, he didn't kill himself going down to 140 and trying to make 135 and doing all that as a young person. Like, no, he didn't do that. But when you look at all these guys, like when you look at Shakur and you look at Devin, you look at Bud, you look at these guys that was doing all of that, like getting these accolades and doing all of that, they cut weight and shrank themselves down to do that. Coming up to their, like right now, Devin is just now at the weight where he should be fighting at. Because remember, when he got in the ring with Loma, they said, oh, Loma looked at him and said, oh, he's a middleweight. So he's looking for the smoke. With a guy like Devin that's as accomplished as Devin is, and all the attention that he garnered and the fan base that he garnered, you know, the aura and all of the power and all of the whatever you want to call it, the mind control that Bill Haney brings over the entourage that they got in the cult-like fan base that they have, you got to think. If Brian Norman is to go in there and he is to spark Devin, I'm talking about he's going to put it into the Devin Haney era. I told y'all what's going to happen. I said I'm calling it the ice age because it's about to get real cold. See, Devin got caught up like Screech chasing that nut. And it just happened to be Brian Norman on the other side that he got to go through. But if he is to able to put an end to this, because remember, this was a job. One, Tank should have did it. Tank should have did this. Tank should have got rid of. Tank should have been the one to end that Devin train, that hype around Devin. If it wasn't Tank, it should have been Shakur. They'd have messed up and allowed Devin to get all these accolades and achieve all these accomplishments and do all that. And now he's getting up to the right weight class. He had his setback. He got his lesson by fighting Ryan Garcia. You know what I'm saying? He got his mulligan. You know, he got He got that L, removed off his record. And because it's been a picking and choosing, because remember, one of the knocks on a lot of these people, right, and a lot of these fighters that they say, especially like some of the guys I met, they picking and choose. You can't pick. Brian Norman ain't picking and choosing. He's not picking and choosing. And it's the perfect timing, because this was at a time where Devin really didn't have like all the options that y'all say he had. He really didn't have the option. And I still, to this day, I don't believe that Devin and them won it. Well, actually, I did a whole video about it, and Sean Porter come out and he pretty much explained it all. I had been saying this before I had confirmation that Sean Porter came out, but he validated just by me following the bouncing ball all along and staying hot on the trail. He validated everything that I had been saying in my videos. I got the validation when Sean came out and said it. So if Brian Norman, in his youth, in the glamour division, defends his strap against a man as decorated as the young Lord Devin Haney, and he is to get a knockout, all of these things heavily infringing upon Tank exiting. If Tank is on his way out, and if Tank is like, if he's relinquishing his spot and he gonna get his bag and he gonna move on, and he or this is the era where he's going to go do, he's going to the bag and going to do this novelty stuff and these other things to make the bag and do all of this stuff. If that's where he's at, I'm trying to tell you, if Brian Norman get in here and spark Devin Haney, he has a strong case, a very strong case to be the face of boxing next. Because I thought AC was getting ready to steal some of my thunder. He's like a people's champ. You don't have to worry about, some of these guys, you're not going to have them on the show. Like for years, you couldn't get Bud on the show to get an interview. People be complaining about Tank, not having access to Tank and not having him on the show to be able to talk. You don't got to worry about that with Brian Norman. He's going to chop it up with you. If his father get wind of something, his father hear about it, whatever, they'll clear it out. Brian Norman will show up. He'll pop up on you. He got his own slogan. He got a style that's fan friendly. You're not going to have to worry about having to explain, how Shakur be saying, they don't understand. They don't know shit about boxing, man. This is the sweet science. See, what I did was I did a parry, then I stepped back, and then you ain't got to explain no sweet science after watching this style. And it's going to show us if you know how to cut that ring off. When he cut that ring off the way we know how you supposed to cut, like when they step to the right, you step to the left, and you step forward. Like you already know. You're gonna know if he knows how to cut this ring off, and he executes this game plan that they got for Devin Haney, and he is able to spark Devin Haney. He has a very strong case to become the next face of boxing. From his personality, his pedigree, the image, his style, he got dog, he got grit, he already faced adversity, he can take criticism. You know what I'm saying? He's already in the glamour division, fighting the closest he could to his weight division, like where he's supposed to be. And he probably gonna be at 47 for years to come, but the way they talking this shit, if Boots wind up staying at 54, he probably gonna go ahead and you know what I'm saying, eventually. But shit, I'm thinking, man, Gary Antoine gonna have to go up there to 47. I'm thinking we're gonna have to see Sabril Matias go to 47 eventually. I think it's about to be a party at 47. And you talking about the glamour division, it's about to be restored. Oh yeah. There's a lot of people that's gonna let Devin do this recon, and they're gonna see how Devin do it. They're going to see how Devin deal with it, or if, if Devin can get the job done, or if Devin can have some kind of success, and they're going to try to mimic that. It's just like in football. It's like you come out, like, remember when they had the Wildcat offense? So they come out with these offenses, right? the RPO, the run pass option, like they come out with these certain offenses and they have a certain amount of success for about a year or two, just like the Wildcat. They have a certain amount of success, right? But you notice that by the time the playoffs come, they've seen those formations, they've seen those options, they've seen those plays so many times that defensive coordinators sit back and they come up with game plan. That's what a lot of people do in boxing. They'll send this person at you. So right now, Devin is going to go in there with Brian Norman and they're going to see if he can have some success. And they're trying to make it seem like this is like Devin just going to go in there and just school the dude and it's levels and it's all this. But you got to think, Devin came out and said, this is the first time I'm fighting somebody younger than me. Because I said he liked them Cougars. That's why I said Floyd Schofield is on that Devin Haney plan where he likes those Cougars too. But this is the first time that Devin is going to be fighting somebody other than Ryan Garcia, where he don't have all those physical advantages. By default, you got to say, okay, boxing IQ. But who knows if the boxing IQ is, if the boxing IQ was levels, then why was Ryan able to do the same thing? Ain't they reason that the rounds where he didn't get dropped, he was winning? So an IQ like Floyd, a boxing IQ would have told you, okay, well, keep doing what you're doing and you'll win this easy. Watch out for the left hook. So we don't know if the boxing IQ, we don't know if Devin's boxing IQ is better than Brian Norman's. You're assuming that because of the accomplishments that Devin has, but you got to think, Devin was down there doing it against people who he was much bigger than, and he had all the advantages from age, size, height, reach, activity, all those things. Brian Norman wasn't doing that. He was on the outside looking in, being put in fights that he was not supposed to win. So when he went out there and what he did out there in California in front of that man, in that man's backyard, and how he did it, he wasn't supposed to win. And devastated and crumpled that man and sat over him like Spider-Man. He wasn't supposed to win that fight. They've been setting him up. They've been sending him in there to get thumped on and get marked up, to get bruised, to get the apple cart upset. So he's already accustomed to actually making those adjustments and already having his back up against the wall. What he got to lose? Nothing, because he's been put in those positions where he was not meant to win. He's been doubted. He wasn't given everything. He didn't have the silver spoon. Last time I checked, he didn't have a Roy Jones and a Zab Judah and a Floyd Mayweather and the Mayweather family and all of the boxing royalty around him. Roy, Floyd, Zab Father, the Mayweathers. He didn't have all of that around him. He had Senior. Senior and some heart and some nuts. You see what I'm saying? So if this man is able to do that, and you got to look at it, man, I'm not even gonna go down this path. I'm not even gonna get onto this because it's gonna make it seem like I'm hating. I'm not even gonna touch on that, because when you analyze the moves that Boots have made and the fact that we could have been getting the unification. Instead of getting this fight, this could have been Boots and Brian Norman with Boots getting ready to attempt to grab the third strap out of the four, which would have forced Mario Barrios there. But now we getting ready to get this where he's defending his strap against Devin, and then we getting ready to get Boots fighting a guy named Lima Beans, who we don't know. We really don't know. He didn't go up there and get Bagram. He didn't use his leverage. He didn't use his belt. He didn't use anything. The same thing when Shakur lost his belt on the scale and he moved up. And we was like, damn, why you let all your leverage go? The way Keyshawn moved up to 40 after crashing out, he let his leverage go and was like, damn, but what's the use in having the leverage if you're going to let your leverage go when you moving up? Boots didn't use none of his leverage that he had being a unified champ moving up to do anything, and he getting ready to fight a dude named Lima Beans. We don't know this dude. He's not getting ready to fight a killer. He's not moving up. At least when Devin moved, he moved up in Fort Regis. Now he moving up again. He fighting another champ in Brian Norman. That kind of stuff is going to age well. Those are the same things when they want to say that Boots is like Bud, these are the same things. If you're going to be that way and you're going to draw those kind of comparisons, other than the fact that y'all can both switch, these are the things that if you were like those guys, like an Errol Spence, who don't take no tune-ups, but it's been on record that this man, Turkey, said that this man came to him and said, I want 2 tune-ups. Brian Norman ain't moving like that, man. You can say what you want. You can try to put lipstick on the pig, and you can try to, you know what I'm saying? This is not to take away from a skill set. This is just trying to say, as far as Z moves, as far as D moves, this man going in and spark Devin Haney, he is poised to be the face of boxing. But it's been a minute, y'all. I'm back on it, man. I needed some stuff. I wanted the circus stuff. I wanted the whole Canelo Bud. I wanted all that stuff to get out the way so we can get back down to business as far as this boxing. My goal is to really speak boxing and say things that a lot of people are too scared to say because of politics, because of favor, because of friendships, because of wanting to be down with this camp like Brandy and all of that. I don't know. You know, it's a lot of weird relationships out here, and I don't have time for it. My whole thing is silence is consent. All it takes for evil to prevail is for grown men and women to remain silent. So we tend to speak to the things that are not right. Right? So I just give you a little something to put in your rucksack to march on, something that allow you to look at boxing and have a conversation responsibly from a different perspective. That's all it really is. I'm not saying that my opinion is everything and I know all of this and I know all that. What I will do is hold a responsible conversation, and I will keep it a buck, even if you somebody that I rock with. See, that's the difference between me and a lot of these other content creators. Is I'ma stand on mine. If you my guy and you not doing something right, either A, I'm just not gonna say anything about it. But if it comes up, I'm not gonna gaslight you and act like I don't see what's going on and act like I don't know and gaslight you. That's the last thing I'm gonna do. Now I'm like, nah, I'm not with it. No, I'm not with it. Nope. Yep. He really lost. Nope. Yep. I had that. Nope. He shouldn't have got that decision. Nope. Yep. Nope. They robbed him. Like, nope. I don't agree with it. Nope. That's foul. Nope. He shouldn't have did that. Nope. I don't agree with that move. Nope. Not. That's just me though. I'm not gonna glaze, and I'm definitely not going to invite you to no sausage party. We don't get down like that. Wipe your chin. Or buy some knee pads and some throat coat and some tonsil jewelry. You know what I'm saying? Sponsor the channel. Anyways, man, I appreciate everybody who came in and showed your boy some support, man. I really do, man. Anyways, thanks for choosing Bodywork Boxing. But we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.
He didn't want to box. He wanted to actually prove that he could punch with you. He was like, what the fuck is this nigga, right? Oh, okay, you want to go to sleep. You tired.
Welcome to Body